Happy Friday. Welcome to the AM show.
Well, it's a Friday, and of course, we're raring to go. We're glad that you've chosen us to spend your time with this morning. Of course, we're your #1 show on morning television. My name is Benjamin Akakbo.
And I'm Sweetie Aboshi, and we're about to tell you why this morning it is worth waking up to the AM show. First, we start by serving you the AM news. And then the news review segment follows right after. Shamima Muslim is part of the comms team for the NDC. And then Dr.Amoako is also a part of the communications team for the NPP. They're joining us to review the newspapers. Then AM Sports will come your way. Being a Friday, it will be Prime Take. And then, of course, Benjamin Akakbo will share his blunt thought with us. What do we have for today?
Well, today I've titled it Evicting Our Football, Shifting the Electoral Goalposts and Pampering Galamsey's Kaldagri. Why we continue to bleed. Yeah, so I'll be telling you about that. And then later we get into our big story, starting with this one, the 24-hour economy. There's been a lot of talk about it and what its potential could be. Well, today we'll be talking to our guest about implementing a 24-hour economy in Ghana and how it could significantly boost GDP and overall economic growth by increasing productivity, job creation, and revenue generation. But there's more to it. What are the negatives, if any, of the 24-hour economy? And can we actually roll it out like some other jurisdictions have? Is it just a campaign, promise, or is there something in the thick of things? We'll be telling you about that as we host our guest this morning on that subject. The person is Professor Jonathan Annan. He's Associate Professor, School of Business, Nairobi in Kenya.
And later on today, we'll bring you AM Business. We couldn't do that yesterday, but there are other conversations that you want to stay with us for. We'll be talking about a united front in the fight against Galamsey. Now, the Achim Ebuakwa traditional area in the eastern region is one of the communities in Ghana which has been adversely impacted by activities of illegal mining. The area hosts several biodiversity hotspots, including the Atewa Forest Reserve. And the green zone is home to more than 100 species currently at risk of extinction, with 5 million people relying on the forest for a clean water supply. However, all these natural resources are at risk of peril due to the increasing activities of illegal mining and deforestation. We'll help you put this into perspective and how we can save the green landscape later on in the show. You want to stick with us from now till 10 a.m. because we are serving you breakfast.
Well, do stick and stay. We'll be back with the news shortly.
Welcome to the AM News. Details now. The Africa Center for Energy Policy is warning of a looming crisis in the power sector owing to the inability of the Electricity Company of Ghana to service the debt owed by independent power producers. The PURC, in its latest letter to the president, warned of an imminent collapse of the power distributor as debts in the energy sector continue to rise. Addressing the press on the recent developments in the energy sector, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, cited ECG management of engaging in what they identified to be the bloating of ECG's power application contracts signed with software firm Haptel, amounting to the tune of over 100 million cedis. ASEP is in this regard asking for the dismissal of the current management of the Electricity Company of Ghana.
Recovery program estimates that the realized power sector shortfalls between 2019 and 2023 were about $8.25 billion. This is sheer waste of public resources that cannot persist. In light of the above preliminary comments, ASEP recommends the following. 1. PURC should assume its regulatory functions over ECG. Specifically, the Commission should implement aggressive measures to have visibility over how much revenue is collected and spent on value chain participants and any other expenditures that may be undermining the sustainability of the sector. 2. PURC should immediately audit the Haptel contract and verify all the payments made to the company to assure value for money for the country and clarify discrepancies in cash values reported by HAPTEL and ECG. And finally, the current management of ECG should be relieved of their jobs and immediately replaced with effective and transparent management that will salvage the company and its attendant fiscal burden on the state and the people of Ghana.
Meanwhile, ASEP is also raising concerns about how ECG has handled its exchange rates transactions for power distribution. At the same news conference, policy lead on petroleum and conventional energy at ASEP, Kojo Yauche, the ECG has been reporting exchange rates to the Cash Waterfall Committee that are significantly higher than the interbank rates. This discrepancy, according to the group, has led to substantial financial losses for the company.
The second prime example of political settlement mechanism is exchange rate manipulations. One of the major challenges of ECG in its handling of the exchange rate for its transactions. In many instances, the exchange rate reported by ECG to the Cash Waterfall Committee was significantly higher than the interbank exchange rate. The exchange rate manipulation created a net exchange loss of about 6.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2022, which is up from 600 million in 2021 to about 7 billion Ghana cedis in 2023. ASEP, through the RTI process, requested historical exchange rates used by ECG for its transactions. The company has since May 2024 not been able to supply the requested information, stating in an August 2024 response that, and I quote, "The requested information is quite extensive and will require some time to compile. All efforts are being made to put together the information requested for submission. We acknowledge your forbearance thus far and implore your continued support as we work towards meeting the request," end quote, since May 2024. This level of manipulation undermines the ability of ECG to pay value chain and redirect public resources away from legitimate expenditure programs.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is demanding a full-scale audit of the entire energy sector to reveal the extent of its challenges. According to minority spokesperson on energy, John Jinapor, this audit will reveal several hidden problems with the energy sector and chart the path for a resolution.
Based on this report, has indicated that ECG is not abiding by the cash waterfall mechanism. And it's the cash waterfall mechanism that allows companies and entities throughout the energy sector value chain to get some revenues or payment. That has been jettisoned. As if that is not enough, the Ministry of Finance, since August 2023, has not paid up even 1 cedi for power consumed by ministries, departments, and agencies. And from our rough estimates, that debt alone balloons to 1.8 billion. Clearly, they are passing the buck, just trying to manage the system and hand over a dilapidated, aging equipment, collapsed energy sector to President Mahama when he assumes office. The energy sector debt alone, based on our rough estimates, is more than $2 billion as we speak. We therefore call for a full audit of the entire energy sector so that we would have a fair and firm appreciation of the state of indebtedness, the state of dilapidation, so that whoever assumes office would prepare to tackle the challenges. There's an attempt to sweep all the challenges under the carpet and hope that they can just cross over the next election. But that is not the way to go. We call on the ECG to restore and respect the tenets of the cash water fund mechanism. We also call on the politicians to desist from the unnecessary political interference, which has culminated in this mess that we find ourselves.
John Jinapor says the energy sector will collapse if the ECG does not live up to its responsibilities and pay up what is due independent power producers and other stakeholders in the energy value chain.
ECG, from what PURC states, is able to account for only 42% of the revenue requirement of the sector. And so clearly, the utility is not sustainable. If we continue on this trajectory, the whole sector would collapse. As we speak, Tallow is owed more than $100 million that has not been paid. ENI is owed hundreds of millions of dollars, to the extent that ENI has called on the guarantee and government is defaulting on its debt obligation to ENI. WAPCO has also issued a letter to GMPC threatening to shut down the pipeline over accumulated debt of about $12 million. Clearly, the sector is suffocating. The energy sector is choking. The energy sector is crumbling. The energy sector is collapsing. This government has been sleeping on the job. Right from 2017, they kept on with the mantra that we have too much gas. Today, there's a shortage of gas of about 60 MMscf. Because of that, since January, they've been procuring light crude oil to the tune of about $40 million every month. So in 1 year, government will be procuring $480 million worth of light crude oil. That is enough to build another gas processing plant. But clearly, some people are benefiting from the procurement of oil, and so the interest is more on the procurement of oil rather than delivering a gas infrastructure that can process gas. Since assuming office from 2017, not even 1 kilometer of pipeline has been added by this government. The gas infrastructure, apart from what they've inherited, they haven't added any gas infrastructure. And so we are calling on government to be transparent.
The Ghana Police Service is on a collision course with Democracy Hub, organizers of the Fix the Country protest, who are set to embark on a 3-day protest starting Saturday. The police on Wednesday secured an injunction against the protest, but backtracked later in the evening, saying it was going to provide security for the protest. Yesterday, we heard from the police who have been explaining why exactly they had to go to court to get the injunction. According to the Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, ACP Grace Akrofi-Ansam, they cannot allow the protest to happen at the Revolution Square, which is directly opposite the seat of the presidency, the Jubilee House, as that will endanger public safety. She spoke at a news conference earlier.
Following our assessment, police concluded that holding the demonstration at that location, that is the Revolution Square in front of the Jubilee House, could affect public order, endanger public defense, public safety, and public health. As a result, in the interest of public defense, public order, public safety, and the running of essential services, the police engaged the organizers, that is the Democracy Hub, to reconsider the location to a different place. However, the organizers refused to reconsider their proposed location and insisted that they will hold the protest at the Revolution Square in front of the Jubilee House. As a result, police was compelled to go to the court for a determination on the matter. that is the location for the proposed demonstration. Yesterday, 18 September 2024, the High Court granted an order to prohibit Democracy Hub from proceeding with the demonstration on the 21st to 23rd September at the Revolution Square.
But the police say they have opened their door to negotiations and will continue to engage the organizers to resolve the disputes with them.
The law places on the police to request them to relocate, which we have duly done. Request under subsection 4 or fail to notify the police officer in charge or a chairman of a tribunal for an order to prohibit the holding of the special event on the proposed date or at the proposed location. So this is the position of the law, which is exactly what the police have done, and we are still engaging them. The question number 2 was, how soon are we going to engage the demonstrators for a new location? Like I already mentioned, we've engaged them, we are still engaging them. We've notified them by way of a letter today that we are open and ready to sit with them once again to let them exercise their constitutional right of protest, and we also fulfill our mandate of providing security, law, and order to persons who wish so to exercise.
In other stories, small-scale gold miners persist in using mercury for extraction despite its toxic effect. Prolonged exposure to mercury can lead to severe health issues, including neurological damage, kidney failure, and even death. Experts warn that miners, as well as nearby communities, are at risk of mercury contamination of soil, water, and air. To mitigate these health and environmental risks, the experts advocate for the adoption of mercury-free technology to ensure safer mining practices. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more.
An alarming 90% of small-scale gold miners, both lances and unlances, rely heavily on mercury for gold extraction despite the risk. This widespread use occurs in precarious and environmentally damaging conditions, exacerbating the harm. The persistence of mercury use stems from its affordability and ease of access, making it a tempting choice for miners who often prioritize short-term gains over long-term health and environmental consequences. As a result, mercury contamination threatens not only miners' health but also nearby ecosystems, water sources, and communities. Dr. Ishmael Kwenu is a researcher at the University of Mines and Technology.
The challenge has been technology, availability of alternatives that could help them achieve the expected recovery and expected production. And the cost of this equipment has always been a challenge. But we have explained to them that it's not only about the technology we are pushing, but a shift in the mindset that in the absence of even sophisticated technology, can we find a way, in our own conventional way, of reducing or minimizing the usage of mercury?
The Environmental Protection Agency, through the Planet Gold Initiative, has launched an outreach program to educate small-scale gold miners about the importance of reducing or eliminating mercury use in gold extraction processes.
The project is trying to help to phase out the use of mercury so that it will be replaced with mercury-free technology, which they are now doing a presentation on, so that the miners will be introduced to mercury-free technology, so that at the end of the day and gradually we will phase out the use of mercury. We know mercury is used for other purposes in the health sector and so many areas. And we have this Minamata protocol or convention that is helping to phase out mercury throughout the world.
Miners recognize mercury risk but cite accessibility and affordability concerns as obstacles to adopting mercury-free technologies.
Gold catcher, gold catcher, $100,000. ono mie koli baby ono akọ jina ho no ono ehoro kakra no akọ jina obede 100,000.
Experts say raising awareness and providing easy access to mercury-free technology can help small-scale miners quit using mercury. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
The acting registrar of corporate societies in Ghana, Dr.Amoako, has advised members of credit unions to desist from seeking redress from the law courts on issues bothering the unions. He wants them to exhaust all internal means of conflict resolution to avoid waste of time and financial resources. Mr. Yeboah was speaking at the 42nd and 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Hydro Cooperative Credit Union at Akosombo in the Eastern Region. Edwin Kofisian reports.
The annual general meeting, which covered 3 financial years, was on the theme Building Resilient Hydro Cooperative Credit Union in a Competitive Market Environment. Established in 1971, the union was owned and controlled by the staff of the Volta River Authority. However, it now has a membership of over 14,000, including VRA, Gridco, and Bui Power Authority staff, who form majority. Other members include public and private workers, individuals, churches, and small-scale and medium-scale enterprises, with a total asset of over 160 million Ghana cedis. In his welcome address, board chairman of the Hydro Cooperative Credit Union, Joseph Asari Keteku, assured members of the union's effort at recovering a 60 million cedis locked-up funds with investment firms.
Our SIC Financial Services, we have about 10.5 million Ghana cedis locked up. NTHC Financial Services have about 2.1 million Ghana cedis. Gold Coast Security Management, also we have about 2.2 million Ghana cedis. Relatively put together, about 16 million has been locked up.
On the spot, the acting registrar of the cooperative societies, Dr.Amoako Yeboah, advised members of credit unions to resist the temptation of seeking redress at the law court, since the cooperative laws enjoins members to exhaust all internal means of conflict resolution.
That if we write to court with our issues, we incur costs with regard to legal fees, we have to pay to lawyers and the filing processes at the court. Meanwhile, your cooperative that you take to court is going to use the funds that you have contributed in the cooperative to fight the case. Let us therefore familiarize ourselves with the provisions for grievance handling in our bylaws so that we save ourselves totally avoidable expenditures.
The general manager, Edward Ajakwa, revealed to Joy News that the union declared a total dividend of over 25 million Ghana cedis from July to December 2021, 2022, and 2023 financial years, out of which 49% was declared to the shareholders. For Joy News, Kofisian Akosombo.
It's now time for our business update with Benjamin Akakbo.
Welcome aboard. If you are ready for our business updates, then let's take it away. In our first story, take a relook at taxes on agro inputs and further subsidize fertilizers to boost cocoa production. That's the call from the Peasant Farmers Association to the government. According to the farmers, the cocoa sector will continue to decline if these challenges are not addressed. Former executive director of the association, Charles Nyaba, told Joy Business that a deliberate effort was needed to revitalize cocoa production.
One of the key things that we need to do, which is within the control of our policymakers or government, has to do with imposing of taxes on agro inputs, farm machineries, and then other agrochemicals. You know, majority of the inputs that we use for production, for instance, the pesticides, the weedicides, the fertilizers, about 90% is imported. Previously, if you were bringing inputs for farm activities, it was with duty-free. Now we pay duty like any other commodity. As a result, the prices have gone high. This year, at the beginning of the year, there were a lot of importers who brought in inputs. They couldn't actually clear them at the port. Fertilizer that we used to buy at 300 Ghana cedis, as a result of the duties, is now going around 540 Ghana cedis at the port. So one of the strategies government need to do is actually to look into that. The subsidy was also good. You know, when we say this, people always think that farmers want it for themselves. If you subsidize agriculture inputs or machineries, you are subsidizing for consumers, you are strengthening your economy. This is because once the cost of production comes down as a result of subsidy, many farmers who were originally not farming or are not able to expand their farm sizes will go in because cost of production will be low. Right. Those who are already in will also will develop a type of using appropriate quantity of inputs to apply on their farm, leading to increase in yields. So that's one of the areas that we need to look at.
In our next story, the managing director of Republic Bank Ghana, Benjamin Joboku, has attributed the bank's strong 2023 financial performance to effectively managing non-performing loans and growing deposits by 1.9 billion Ghana cedis. He also credited the bank's leadership in mortgages. Speaking at the bank's 33rd annual general meeting, Mr. Joboku highlighted plans to develop competitive schemes to support micro, small, and medium businesses.
If you look at 2022, we made loss because of the DDEP. But 2023, we posted a huge profit, 145 million, against a loss of 66 million last year. And this is basically because of the level of growth in our deposit. We grew our deposit about 1.9 billion. So you see a growth of about 1.8 billion in the total assets. And as the industry non-performing loan was about 20.6, we did about 15.9, which means that we are below the industry in terms of non-performing loan. So you see that because we're able to manage our non-performing loan, our net interest income was very healthy. Net interest income margin was about 9% as against last year. So it's basically the focus, as I indicated last year, that we've gone back to base, where we are looking at our mortgage. Now we are the leading mortgage provider in the country, and we are also targeting the SME and corporate business as well. Republic Bank has been in existence over 187 years, so they have the capability which we are leveraging on that expertise to grow the SME business. And for the next 5 years, the strategy is the SME. You know, that is the backbone of the economy. But all the financial institutions, they've neglected that space. But because of the experience that we have in Republic Financial Holding, I believe that we are bringing that expertise to the Ghanaian market. If you look at the credit card, we have taken that space because of the experience, and we'll do the same thing the next 5 years in the SME side of the economy.
And that's our recap of our business updates. But as I hand over to Sweetie Abochi, I'll leave you with our currency market updates. Delve into the newspapers with our guests, but you know how we do it here on the AM show. Now, joining us for this conversation, we have Dr.Amoako. She is a communications team member of the MPP. She joins the conversation. She's right here in the studio, and we'll have Sweetie Abochi introduce the other guest. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
Is this your first time here?
Yes, and good morning to all your lovely viewers.
Okay, so I guess it's going to be a baptism of fire. One of your colleagues learned a few days ago.
Really?
So, It's going to be fun, but it's going to be, you know.
Oh, I'm confident. When you have the truth on your side, nothing is difficult.
The truth.
Okay.
What's truth?
Truth in all matters.
Truth in?
In all matters. Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of the Bible, and when the question will be posed, what is truth? And the answer that was given. But we'll go there later.
But your counterpart from the other side, Shamima Muslim, is also part of the NDC communications team, and she joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Shamima.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's great.
Apologies that I'm not able to join you in studio.
It's okay. We would make the best out of what we can, what we have. So let's start with you, since you're joining us via Zoom, to take us through what's on your mind this morning, and then we'll come back to the studio. You have a minute or two to take us through that. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, sweetie. I think what's on my mind, as many as on the mind of many Ghanaians, is the simple question of whether or not we will be able to have a credible elections this year, and whether we would have a credible voter register this year, and whether the voice of reason will reign paramount, and the people who have been vested with the sacred duty of running our elections, which is the Electoral Commission, will do right by the people of Ghana and be open to the request for an audit. So we go into a crucial election where we are all confident that at least the basic documents with which we are entering the election with is not perfect, but it is reasonably good enough. Because the infractions we have seen and we have witnessed this time, we have never witnessed those infractions before. It is worrying if there are reports, which reports are not contested by the Electoral Commission. Yesterday, I heard the New Patriotic Party say that if the Electoral Commission acquiesces to the request for a forensic audit, they are also going to go in a demonstration. I mean, it is so unfortunate that the NPP would say this, because the NPP in the past have also had issues with the voters register on the specific matter of bloating of the register. We are talking here about an illegality involving illegal transfer of people's votes to places where they are not supposed to be. And people said, oh, is it not the case of Pustiga?
Okay, Shamima, land on this point for me so we start the conversation. I'll come back.
Well, my call is that we need more voices speaking up and against the position the Electoral Commission seems to be taking. And we need those voices to speak today, because this country is all we have. Okay. Nobody wants to lead in a chaotic situation. We want a peaceful country. We want peaceful elections. We want fair elections. That is all we are asking for.
All right. Thank you, Shamima. So, Dr. Amoako, usually our guests get a minute or two to walk us through any topical issue or whatever it's on top of their minds before we get into the newspapers. That was Shamima Muslim. What would be your take?
Yeah, regards to her this morning. And since she's already started on the issue of the voters register, I think it's only fair that I also have my 2 cents on that topic. The double standard and the behavior coming out of the NDC of recent, I can't even find a civil word to use. I find it completely laughable, because we've been in this country before, even if we were not particularly alive at the beginning. There's a lot of written history, so we know what happened. After the PNDC at that time took over this country by force, if we all remember, I think the problem is a lot of people do not even remember that. It took over this country by force. In 1992, when they decided to return us to democratic rule, the EC at that time, was it not appointed by the then President Rawlings? Did he not appoint everybody? Did he not appoint all the Supreme Court judges? In 96, wasn't it the same? So, I mean, for you to come and try and bastardize a situation just because you feel like you're on the verge of losing and you're unable to articulate any policies, there's no clear direction coming out from the side of the NDC, it's very, very obvious that all they are trying to do is more diversionary tactics. Since this campaign started, all they've done is to do the politics of distractions, what we like to call cheap communist tactics. I mean, what's the issue here? She mentioned Pusiga. If the issue, you have concrete problems, you have legitimate issues, bring it out and let's rectify it. And I can't even sit here and pretend to speak for the Electoral Commission. I don't. I speak for the New Patriotic Party. And we all have a vested interest to make sure that the voters register is credible. Right. There's no attempt by the MPP on any grounds at all to do anything untoward in this election. We know we have a superior message, and so there's no need to engage in all of this. We want to win these elections free and fair, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay. So if, in typical fashion, you feel like you are losing and all you can do is throw stones at the referee, I mean, I would urge my brothers and sisters on the side of the NDC to engage in more constructive arguments. You know, let's just discuss issues and what they have for the people of Ghana, and not.
Before we get into the papers, I know Ben wants to...
Definitely, I do. For both Shamima and Dr. Amoako. Shamima, are you saying that if we went to the polls today with the register we had, that would mean that you would have little to no confidence in that register, or that voters register being used for election 2024? Is that what you're saying?
Thank you very much, my brother.
Please just be very brief. I want very brief remarks on this because you've already spoken. I just want a clear answer on that.
With the infractions that we have today, we cannot wait till December 7th to disenfranchise thousands.
How will that happen?
That would happen because if you go to your polling station and you do not find that your name is on the register, look, my brother, one Ghanaian disenfranchised is one Ghanaian too many. We have a sow on our hands. Under this same Electoral Commission, that has not happened before. An entire constituency was disenfranchised for 4 years. They have no representation in Parliament.
Shamima, please hit the nail on the head. Address the question I'm asking. I'm saying that
is the question I'm asking.
Let's not bring in Sal. I get the point.
Must not engage in this. Who said, she said, you are the media, you have seen some of the evidence we have provided. What is your personal position on those
my personal position is not what I am asking, Shamima. I'm asking, what is your party's position? If the register remains like this, do you accept it or not?
We require, and I've said it, I said my party's position is that we require an audit to correct these infractions that the EC itself does not deny. We say that let us all come around the table, every stakeholder. Let us vet and what do you call it? Let us investigate and audit the register. You said you have corrected some of those infractions.
Okay.
And I'm saying that we should not go into an election with such major infractions that has the potential of disenfranchising Ghanaians.
Shamima, so
I asked to do that.
I posed that question because while you want this audit, and yesterday there was that treatise, if you like, thesis provided by the MPP in that engagement. Very long document on why they feel it's interesting with these political parties, both of you, MPP and NDC. But the reason I am asking this question is, you say you want this audit, and I'm asking, if you don't get the audit, what next? Because you have evidence as per your party's claims. You don't want to give the further evidence to the EC, but you will only give it to this external forensic auditing institution, which is why I am asking that question, because then it means that if the EC decides not to go along with this, your evidence or the information you have, what happens to it? You don't want to give it to the EC. Some have said, Kodeo has said, go back to IPAC and force home your issues there. That was why I was asking that question. But anyway, let me come into the studio as well. And Dr. Amoako?
Yes.
You said something interesting. Are you a lawyer?
No.
You're not?
No.
You said something about the appointment of judges, was it in 1992? And you said it was what? He single-handedly appointed...
Wasn't the president the one with the responsibility to appoint Supreme Court judges? Isn't that enshrined in our constitution?
Well, that's exactly my point. You made a point suggesting that he engaged in some sort of illegality?
No, I don't. I think you were misconstrued. I didn't say
I misunderstood you.
Yes, I said at that point he appointed everyone. So why are we trying to behave like because the EC chairperson has been appointed by this government, she lacks credibility, when that is the norm?
But who has said that?
Oh, that's what the people on my brothers and sisters on the NDC side have said. They've said that she's a stooge of the MPP. They've said that she's an operative of the MP. They've done everything to attack her credibility. So yes.
Did you hear same said by your party members about Charlotte Osei? Did you hear that? Or
no,
maybe at that
they
time?
Don't hear.
No, Shamima, let me do this. For both of you, I want to do the grilling. Let me do the barbecue. I'm the one. Did you hear that? Or maybe at that time you weren't following, you know?
Of course I was following, and I think at that time concerns were raised and we did the best we could at the time to be able to come to a democratic solution, which is what I expect the NDC to do now. Hitting the streets and I mean, I've seen some very inflammatory statements coming from top leaders in the NDC, and I think that is not going to help our democracy at this point.
The last thing I'll say on this, of course, I had that recent interaction with Dr. Amoako and you know, a stalwart of your party. And he said that, he asks, why should the EC be afraid if it has nothing to hide? I've heard Nana Boakye talk about, oh, if the EC goes ahead with this audit, we'll hit the streets. That smacks for me. You see, it feeds into the rhetoric of, oh, the EC is in bed with the MPP, or the MPP is in bed with the EC.
Okay.
When in 2016, a similar audit was called for, did the NDC demonstrate, hit the streets to prevent, you know, that audit that was called for? And did the audit happen or not? It did happen. It was on the back of that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo became president. So if you talk of hypocrisy, how about we start from your doorstep?
Okay, so in 2016, yes, an audit was had, but was it by a foreign...
Whichever way, there was an audit.
Yes, and then we were able to prove the reasons why we needed an audit. As you just tried to ask...
But now the NDC has not proved
No,
anything.
yeah, so bring out the evidence. If you actually have... See,
Pusiga is part of the evidence.
We can talk about the Pusiga issue.
The voters who have been transferred
so, yeah,
without their
please let me
knowledge
land. We can talk about this Pusiga issue because as far as I am informed, because as I said, I don't speak for the Electoral Commission.
Right.
They are a separate entity. In Pusiga, someone took ID cards, voters' IDs from about 30 people, if I'm not wrong, between 20 and 30 people, and then transferred the votes from Tamale and then Savnalugu. I don't want to get the pronunciation wrong. Isn't that correct?
Sagnarigo, yes.
Yes, so that's what happened. An independent person, a civilian, took voters' ID cards from people under the guise of doing something else. I don't really want to go into the specifics of that. And then went into the system to transfer the votes. These three constituencies involved are NDC strongholds. So, I mean, what's the point of that exercise?
Are you asking yourself why it's even possible for someone working with the EC to be able to do
Yes, and so now that, and I think this Pusiga issue was, it came out after the EC's own audit, isn't it? They had an audit, their own audits, and they were able to find this issue.
Actually, no, it was the NDC that pointed out
and
these
then
bits to them. Then
went,
the Electoral Commission went. What is interesting, for me, it would have been curious as well. I don't care about you political parties, NDC, MPP, but I would have been curious if I told you that, look, I've identified at least 38 of these, and then you also go and conduct your findings, and later, you don't even get back to me. I have to get back to you, and you tell me, oh, the 38 were the only ones that were involved. Would you be convinced by that?
I can see how you could have some skepticism. What's my point in this issue is what does,
anyway,
I mean...
That's my final bit.
So let me land because...
No, I want you to land. I'm just alerting you.
Okay, yeah, so let me land on this issue. I find it very curious. If what the NDC is trying to say is that the EC is in bed with the MPP. So what do we stand to gain by transferring 38 votes between three NDC strongholds? To me, it doesn't make any sense than to bring the credibility of the voters register.
I wouldn't have said anything, but do you know what voter transfers, even in the delineation of districts, do you know what voter transfers? You say 38, right? Imagine 38 across all the districts of Ghana. Use that number.
Yes, I'm not talking about. So the point I'm trying to make is not in the voters transfer. I'm just saying that if it let's think a little. If it was engineered, because I mean obviously this would be very difficult for the MPP to engineer in three NDC strongholds. If it was engineered, what would the motive of that be? To bring the integrity of the register into disrepute. So to me, I mean, if this is what you found, bring all the other things. That's the point of the voters exhibition, isn't it? The final register is not out. So if you have any other problem, that's why we exhibit the register. Everybody go and check if your name is there, so that the problems can be sorted out. But if that has not even finished and you want to call for an audit when some of the issues that are coming back are even suspicious at best, I mean, that's what it calls into question. What do you need the external audit?
I promise after this last statement, sweetie, I promise after this last statement, I'll not talk about this again. Since you want us to think a little, right, Dr. Amoako? Since you want us to think a little, let's think into it. Let's conduct some mental gymnastics.
Okay.
Yeah. If the EC goes ahead, and you see, it's interesting when you listen, for example, and that is why I find it a bit difficult to swallow. In 2015, heading to the 2016 elections, Jean Mensa, now Electoral Commission Chair. I could go back later and find the specific document, spoke passionately about why there was the need for an audit then. She said the EC had to be, under Charlotte Osei, had to be proactive, and that in fact, it didn't matter the cost, that the cost, how precious our democracy is such that we can't afford to sacrifice any of that, and that if an audit, then as IEA boss, if an audit, no matter the form, no matter the cost, is what it would take to give some credibility to our elections, we should go ahead. Do you think things have fundamentally changed, even if you look at the crucial nature of this election? Do you think that has changed? And even if supposedly you felt the EC was completely in the right, and you in the MPP, you are completely in the right in supporting the EC, do you think, even if for the sake of optics, for the people to feel reassured that we're going into this election and my vote will count, do you feel it makes sense, since we are putting on our thinking caps, for us to still go ahead with an audit and let bygones be bygones? Do you think it makes sense?
So yeah, as I started earlier, I cannot make decisions for the EC. I don't speak for them.
I'm not asking for
but I'm
asking what your opinion is.
What my opinion on the issue is. Obviously, the goal of the electoral exercise is for people to believe in it. That's a big factor in all of this. Right. People have to believe that their votes count. Right. They have to believe that the system is credible. And I believe strongly in that should be adhered to. So whatever measures that need to be put in place to ensure that credibility is safeguarded is what's important. So if the EC want to take things step by step and they want to exhibit the register and address concerns as and when it comes, I think that's also another way of going about it. Because what I find curious, as I said earlier, is why the need, why are they so desperate for this audit without providing us with the evidence?
Well, if I start with evidence, it will be let's get into the papers.
But you know, while the conversation was going on, I tried to find stories that were more bread and butter issues in the newspaper, and it appears, I think the season is ripe for all these, but everything in this newspaper today is about politics. And I was just trying to move away a little bit from the politics, but this is where we are. And sometimes I wonder if the NPP were the ones in opposition, they wouldn't be doing the exact same thing. But let's get into the newspaper. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, Nana Kwame Bediako starts 276 tour nationwide. EC won't compromise elections, according to Jean Mensa. YEA creates 700,000 jobs in 7 years. That's according to the CEO. And 80 days is less than 80 days, but the paper says 80 days to general election, NPP, NDC battle ready for Medina seat. Let me start with EC not compromising elections, and that's the only story I'm going to do in politics or in the build-up to the December 7th elections, and we get into some bread and butter issues. So the EC will not compromise its core principles of transparency and integrity in the electoral process preceding the December 7th polls, the chairperson, Jean Mensa, has said and assured. She said the election management body was preoccupied with ensuring that the watertight systems it had put in place culminated in free, fair, and credible elections to consolidate the country's democratic journey. I want to put a pin in that. Let's hold on a bit and get into this story about second-hand clothing ban detrimental. So the Or Foundation, a non-for-profit organization based in Accra, and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, that's the AMA, have called for a balanced systemic solution to global textile waste crisis, opposing the idea of a complete ban on second-hand clothing imports. The two organizations, in a joint press release issued yesterday, advocated a justice-led circular economy that tackled the root cause of the crisis, overproduction, while prioritizing the well-being of communities, particularly those reliant on Kantamatu markets, one of the largest second-hand clothing hubs in the world. And I will let me skip to the part where it says both organizations argued that an outright ban on second-hand clothing imports would be detrimental, threatening the livelihoods of thousands of Ghanaians without addressing the issue. So it's like two sides of the coin. First, you're looking at the waste, and then we're looking at businesses collapsing because a lot of people live and depend on this. And then there's a story about, I think yesterday in court, the case for the O'Reilly Senior High School, should I call it a murder? Mm-hmm. That case where a student lost his life was in court yesterday. And the age of
I think we can just refer to it as a killing for now.
A killing, yeah, not a murder. The age of the person, the accused, has come under contention, whether he's 18 or 24.
Yeah.
And the judge is saying that she will not wait any longer. So as of today, Friday, they've ordered that a medical examination be done to ascertain the age of this guy so he can be prosecuted.
You know, that thing
Why are we shifting?
It's really interesting. If you remember that latest shooting spree of, was it a 14-year-old boy?
In the U.S.
In the U.S. You realize he's being treated as an adult.
Yeah.
And in fact, in one of the very interesting, I follow these things.
His father is also...
His father is being roped in because his father got him the gun, knowing that he had certain tendencies. And this wouldn't be the first time. So it's a bit tricky for me. But of course, the legal jurisdictions are different. And what applies in one jurisdiction may not necessarily apply in the next. But really, you don't want to start seeing these killings in schools. And I mean...
We obviously shouldn't make it something that is normal.
Right. So just these two stories for your quick reflections, because everything here is about NDC and PB. And today, I don't think I want to do that. Let me start from Shamima. Shamima, your quick reflections on the ban of second-hand clothing and the issue of the O'Reilly Senior High School killing, the age of the accused in contention, whether he's 24 or 18, which is actually stalling court proceedings.
Right, thank you very much. You say you don't want to do politics. We are in a political.
I know, but it's okay. We started there, but let's end it with bread and butter issues.
In fact, the politics is the bread and butter issues. If there is no peace in this country, you and I will not even have a television to sit and have a conversation.
I know. What I mean is that when we take the issue, Shamima, hold on a second.
If there's chaos, I'm going to address your issues. If there is chaos in this country, there will be no country to lead. And there will be no bread and butter even. Look at what happens in war.
So let's speak to the issues without the politics of it.
No, well, I don't know what you mean by we're speaking. So as far as I am concerned, I am raising very germane issues that could keep this country intact. This second-hand clothing matter that you're talking about, if our politics, if the president Ekufuado, who said he was going to move Ghana from a Gettysburg economy into an export-led economy and a self-sufficient economy, where industrialization is our base, where we are producing and using our primary products and our primary services. If he was able to achieve that goal, we would now be sewing a lot of local dresses for people and attires and apparel. We would have a booming clothing industry, a booming fashion industry, a booming fabrics industry, local fabrics, Kente, the northern Fugu fabric, which is now being used to create so many different things, tie and dye, batik, made in Ghana. Fabrics that we can use to, people can sew ready to wear outfits and wear them with dignity. We will not go and be importing second-hand.
Shamima, the story is about a global textile waste crisis, right? And this foundation and AMA is saying that maybe we should put a ban on the imports and recirculation of second-hand clothing. And they're saying that about 30,000 people work in Kantamanto markets doing the exact same thing. So whether or not we should ban it, how do we address it? I understand what you're saying. Yes, and I understand what you're saying.
But Shamima,
I just want you to stick to the issue as is.
How are you addressing? I mean, I get the fact that this is a problem. I think was it
allow me to just make my point?
Shamima, you've spoken quite extensively. The point probably has been made. Let me make this point before you make your final point. Sometime last year, I led this team of Spaniards to Agboboloshi. They were talking about some of these things, including pollution and then this waste.
Yes.
Rwanda has had its own policies on, used clothing and all of that. It is country specific. You look at what works for you. But you just said something about, the harshness of the economy and some other things, and that is why how does that really relate to this bit, whether we ban or don't ban used clothing?
Benji, there is no demand, there's no supply without demand. I'm saying to you that when you go to Kantamanto, I was trying to let you know that I've done work on this second-hand clothing matter. And it is not just clothing, it is everything. It is every usable thing. It is clothing, it is equipment, it is bed sheets, it is mattresses, it is televisions. Ghana and many African countries are dumping grounds for these second-hand items. And there is a huge market for them because they are largely more affordable in comparison to ready-made attire store fabrics. This is what I'm saying. It is a foundational issue where economies are unable to provide cheap clothing, which is also dignified for their people. The import of second-hand clothing is like, send your reporter to Kantamanto and go and talk to them about banning this. The Bronuwawu Association will come up in arms against you.
Shamima, I think the point is made. Let's get into other stories in the Daily Graphic, and then we'll move to other stories.
No, let's get Dr. Amoako.
Are you done with the Daily Graphic?
Yes.
Okay. Let's
okay, so I would have wished I wouldn't have to respond to what my co-panelists said, but it's important that I'll keep it short and sweet. I think it's very dangerous, the posturing that's coming out of the NDC. I mean, there's nobody's interested in wars. There's not going to be any chaos if you don't fuel that fire. People on the NDC, let me sit here and tell you, let's just stick to issues. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody is interested in chaos. That's not what we're about. And the posturing that's coming from their side of late, for me, I find it a little scary. It's not necessary. How is the general, now the chairman of the NDC seen on video, I don't know if you've seen that video going around, doing the sign of like a decapitation kind of thing on this EC matter. Nobody wants to die over this. So let's stop.
Are you referring to a picture or you're referring
to his
comments
the video.
He was the latest demonstration.
On the video on his way to the demonstration. I found that very, like, what are we descending into? If you have a genuine issue, let's talk about it. It's dialogue. There's this saying that I find that might be a little inflammatory, but thinking people should not.
I don't think that's fair, because we've heard even the president make statements that, to borrow your words, are scary.
Did you see the president?
We will not hand over power to the NDC.
He has come back to say.
Did he hear all that?
Yes.
Did he hear all that? I
don't. Yes, there's that one.
Do you remember all that?
Yes, I do that.
What the NDC is saying.
The president said that, and after he did come to say that he was going to hand over. That's on record, isn't it? He has come back to say he is going to hand over power. There's no doubt in that.
You know the number of times I can count on my, at least, two hands, how many times I've heard Mr. President say, and we will hand over, and I'll be handing over to...
At a campaign rally to energize his people.
While I agree that some of the rhetoric coming from the opposition doesn't sound right, and I sat here on the day of the last demonstration, Enough is Enough, and criticized what Chairman Esiedun Ketia said. But when you continue saying things like, and I'll be handing over to my vice. That is why the former president came out and said, it is not up to you to determine whom you hand over to.
See,
it is the people of Ghana who determine that.
Is this, let me call it political talk. For the president to say, oh, I'm not handing over and I'm only going to hand over to my vice president at a MPP political rally is different from the chairman of the NDC making signs of cutting heads. Let's not equate apples and oranges. Let's move on to the other issue.
Dr. Amoako, let me ask you something. Have you seen war before?
Luckily, I've not seen war personally.
Lucky for you.
But I mean, I've studied war, and that's why I'm saying that let's not put ourselves in that situation from both sides.
Okay.
Let's not put ourselves in that situation.
You've studied war. Shamima, hold for me. You've studied war.
Yes,
right?
I mean, it's an interesting topic for me, so it's something that
I've read national security law at the master's level, but that's not even a point of value. I have lived war twice. You don't want war.
We don't.
So when people like you talk about war, you talk about it from a very detached, romantic position. Because you've never seen it.
Yeah, that's
you've
why
never
we
been,
would not make signs of decapitation.
You've never been in the thick of things and had to smell rotting bodies. And seen
we don't
people.
Want to.
Good point. You talk about the other side.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to your party, tell them that their rhetoric as well is similar. And some of the things that are happening, your end, their end, are stoking it. I keep saying that when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Unfortunately, we are the grass. The commoners in this country. You can call yourself middle class, elite, whatever. When trouble comes, you feel it. So let's prevent it now than pander to the whims and caprices of these politicians. That is all I'm going to ask. That's why I was asking you whether you had witnessed war before.
No, and it's not something anybody wants to witness.
I'm sure some of you and the rhetoric and... Please go ahead.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I don't think there's ever a time where you are going to get that kind of rhetoric from me personally, because I don't think that's a solution to any problem. So that's what I'm talking about. And I mean, I'm welcome to anybody showing me, if any high-level member of my party inciting violence on this time.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not. And then let's move on to the second issue about the councilman. Yes.
Yeah, we are pressed for time.
Yeah, very briefly. For a rep of the NDC, a party that sold one of our major textile producers in the country, to now come and want to take the high road on this matter, I find it, again, very laughable. They don't have the moral rights on this issue to talk about it. So let's get to the crux of it. It's on record that it's on record that
Akosombo anything, do they?
On a lot of issues, yes, because this
MPP does, right?
We owned Ghana owned Akosombo Textiles. Who sold Akosombo Textiles? So for you to now come and you see, their leader has been president before. John Mahama has been president before. What did he do in this fight of industrialization? His record is there and it's clear for everyone to see.
What have you done about ATL?
What have we done about
8 years? What have you done about Akosombo Textiles?
So on our industrialization fight, we've made inroads with 1D1F.
I'm not asking you about your broad industrialization drives, 1D1F. I'm asking you. You mentioned ATL. I didn't mention it. What have you done about ATL?
That has been sold. Are we talking about the same Akosombo Textiles company?
The same Akosombo Textiles that the chief was talking about in recent times. That
what
the
did the chief say?
He's saying the president should revamp it, that it is within a specific constitution that consistently votes for the MPP.
Yeah, so it's obviously something that we will look at.
Somehow you missed it throughout 8 years.
We can't take away the fact of who actually sold it. So a lot has been done, and then there's like a backlog of things to do, and we are going to address all these issues
unfortunately,
one after the other.
We just have about 5 minutes to go. Benjamin, do you want to take us through your papers?
I'll do so very quickly. I'll not get into the stories. I'll not read. The ABC News, it says on the side of truth, that's becoming a paucity, something in very short supply in Ghana. Calls for voter register audit hypocritical. NDC must submit evidence of errors. ABC News, error is spelled E-R-R-O-R. Errors to EC, that's according to the MPP. 6.9% GDP growth in 2024. Q2 shows economy is recovering. That's according to the finance minister. Saw this story splashed across most newspapers yesterday. The ABC News is now catching up. And then reject Mahama for insulting chiefs, clergy, and imams. NAPO tells Ghanaians. Interesting thoughts on this as well. I heard what the former president said. If, according to different constituencies, he did, well, I think it would be up to him to look into some of his comments. I heard him say something recently with an N word referring to the president. I felt that was needless, though. But, or at least I read. But when someone like Napo, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, starts talking about, oh, someone is insulting, then I begin to scratch my head and wonder where he just came out of. Because this gentleman, after maybe half an hour of interacting with Otumfuo, went and, denigrated Nkrumah, and by extension, Otumfuo. He insulted Ghanaians by telling us to come up with our own timetables when he was energy minister. And he has continued on that trajectory. Maybe some will say even insulting God by saying that, oh, even God sleeps, he rests at night. So I don't know if we are to stick to principle, whether he has any locus, any standing to even talk about insults. But of course, that is the politics of the day. The Ghanaian Publisher, 2024 voter register. MPP rejects calls for forensic audit. Agenda 111 to employ 60,000 health personnel. I don't want to go here. It will be an entire conversation. YEA Ghana report launch job fair. Major rehabilitation work begins on Accra-Kumasi Highway. And Mahama vows to stop buffer stock from supplying SHS food. I guess from the politicians, more and more promises. Ad infinitum, ad nauseum. That's where I'll cap it off. I just gave the headlines. I'm good.
Let's take a quick reflections. Shamima, so that we can circle back into the studio wrap.
Well, my point briefly and quickly is that when people show you who they are, you believe them. The New Patriotic Party and its assigns and leaders have consistently shown us that they intend to subvert the will of the Ghanaians. It started from the president himself, who made several comments severally that he's not going to hand over to somebody he beat at an election twice. We heard similar comments from their communications director, Miracles Abuaji, tell us that they're going to win this election with strategy. We have heard Napo in Ashanti region, Kumasi, tell us that there are angels will come and vote, and God sleeps at night, so who knows what they'll be doing when God is asleep. We have heard Kennedy Ejapon tell us before and threaten his own people that if they dare him, he would let Ghanaians know what they did to win previous elections. We have heard all of these comments, and then we see a register that has unprecedented systemic vulnerability.
Shamima, we are out of time. I think the thrust of your point is made.
We are,
Shamima.
The voices are not just NDC voices. The voices are voices of conscience who are rising up to say Alan Chamanting is not an NDC person. Alan Chamanting is a former member, founding member of the New Patriotic Party, who believes that this party this government is on a wrong trajectory. And he has also called for an audit. Let us do the right thing to save this country.
All right, do the right thing to save this country. Dr. Amoako, final words.
Okay, so I think we're in interesting times with barely 18.
I like the way you sighed before you started talking.
Yeah, because a lot has been said. I actually wish we had more time to delve deeper into these issues because I'm actually enjoying the conversation we're having. So let me try and, as much as possible, wrap up very, very quickly. The flag bearer of the NDC currently, who has been president before in 2016, I think at the launch of their national campaign, I don't know if you've seen that video. I will try to say what he said very loosely. He said, when you're in a competition and then you feel that you are losing, what it's usually done is to, as students of politics, yes, let me borrow that word, he said, what is done is to vilify the referee and then bring the credibility of the whole action into disrepute. So that's when you lose, you then have something to go on the back of, to go and whine. He used the word whining. That is what the ex-president and the leader of the NDC at this point said in 2016 when he was launching his campaign. So, fast forward in 2024, when we have barely 80 days to election, when it is obvious that the NDC has just had the inability to be able to come up with concurrent solutions to our problems, because that's what politics is about. We as young people want leaders that will be able to lead us into progress with proper solutions, not just distractions and tactics. So because it's obvious that they are failing at doing that, it's very obvious that they are going back to the handbook they wrote themselves in 2016, his own words, and now he seems to be
like
to I don't know who wrote the Ejapadiye book. So if you are anything court now, if you want to bring this up, He said
unfortunately,
his own words.
The
video exists.
And this is where we're going to have
that's all you are doing now.
Shamima. So Shamima Muslim is communications team member with the NDC. We're grateful that you joined us, Shamima. And Dr. Amoako also is a communications team member with the MPP. Thank you so much for joining the conversation as well. It's very refreshing having both of you on. Before I go, I walked into the studio this morning and there have been 3 people from right within asking me about this shirt I am donning. It's courtesy of Mudasiru, Siru Africa. And every Friday, he makes me look good. So if you want something like this, something spectacular, but at a low cost, you can go there and get it at a very good price. You can call that number 0557 029 138, 0557 029 138, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at SIRU-Africa. Check them out and you will not regret it. Sweetie Abochi?
Yes, many thanks for your time, ladies. It's been a pleasure hosting you, and we will take a break now. We'll return with sports. Prime Take with Muftana Nabil Abdullahi. Thank you. You're still watching AM Show, but we're bringing you AM Sports Prime Take with Fentio Tahiru, and he is having a conversation with Michael Essien. You want to stay and enjoy that conversation.
It's Kwabena Nkweku.
No, I'm Kwabena.
Well, why did anybody call you Nkweku?
I don't know why. Because
but you've heard it before.
Yeah. Back then they had Kotoko used to have this player called
Nkweku Essien.
So
and then I think people got it confused.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, the moment I got in here when we did the walk, it was a 25 minutes walk into this park. The whole walk, I could understand why you love it in this place. It's quiet, it's secluded. I'm like, this is typical Michael. He never does this. He likes his quiet life. And I was right.
Yeah, you are, yeah. Because, I mean, if you know me, you know me. I like my quiet life and, you know, I like to be far from the city, you know. Yeah. Of course, I grew up in a very small town in Ghana. So, yeah, I've always been the country boy. So I like my quiet and I like my nature and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And how is Rasta?
Rasta is good. He's doing well.
But by the way, that's the name of Michael's dog, Rasta. He calls him Rasta all the time. And I have to tell you, Michael, look, this is not just because you're here. I think I've told you before that you're a big inspiration for me in many ways, not just because I'm a Chelsea fan, but always even in my hair. I mean, this is all inspiration from you. But, you know, just sitting across you right now for this interview in itself is a great pleasure. You have no idea how much I've wanted to do this, and I'm so happy and so grateful that you agreed to do this. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for coming as
well. Just tell me what it's been like the last 4 years. And for those who don't even understand exactly what you do, your role is individual player coach. What is that about specifically?
No, I mean basically is doing taking one-on-one session with some of the players, especially the midfielders and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and also trying to mentor them a little bit and give them a little advice that I can as an ex-pro. So yeah.
And the kids love you. I've seen a video of the most common word that a lot of them used to describe you is humble, respectful, and very kind. I mean, what would you say is why you have such an impact on all these children?
I mean, well, it's kids that want to take their football into a different level, and of course they need some little guidance, and and also see me around, and they will react with them, they will talk to them. So I mean, it gives them something to to learn. So yeah, it's been good so far. So.
And I am one person, I follow you a lot, even on Instagram. Sometimes I see you doing Instagram video, you're just working out and you're like, you're not saying anything in the Instagram video, you're just working out and you're sweating all over the place. And you still look really fit. Now I understand why you work out as much as you do.
No, but actually those Instagram live thing I was doing, it was I took up this challenge for this charity thing, so I have to I took up the challenge to do 45 minutes spin every day to raise awareness and some money for this charity called Fund.
Okay.
Basically, it was from it's founded here in Denmark, and they do a lot of stuff in Africa, Sierra Leone and Ghana and Gambia and stuff like that. So that's why I took up that challenge to
I get it now.
to do it.
It's an important one. Right to Dream has a lot of very talented players over the last few years, and we'll get to all of that. But tell me about what the journey is to this point, because I think I remember getting to this a certain point of your career. Were you always sure that you wanted to do this? At what point did you start to take steps towards doing this?
Well, actually, when I remember when I was playing, if you asked me if I want to be a coach or get into into coaching, I would say no. But then, as time passed and I start thinking. I mean, I've been doing this football thing for almost my whole life, so. Why not take up, a coaching license and, still stay in football, be around the players, especially the young ones, guide them a little bit, give them a few advice, few feedbacks, and stuff like that. And yeah, I still love the game, and so yeah, that's what made me start my coaching license. Actually, I started before I end my career, so then.
And you started with the very lowest one, license C, yeah?
Yeah, I did. I was in Wales. I did my license there. So I did the C, the B, together.
Yeah.
And then a year or two later, I started doing the A. So I started doing my A license before I came here. So I finished here. Yeah.
And then you graduated last year. Congratulations on
that.
Thank you. I saw you holding up the certificate.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because people think you've been an ex-player. It's easy to go to coaching, but it's not at all. But then I took up this decision to do it because I didn't want to end up being one of these ex-players. They finish their career, they go home, and then now they start thinking what they're gonna do. Then they get into depression and stuff like that. So and I started doing it so I can keep my routine kind of the same as when I was playing. So yeah.
I mean, that's actually a brilliant response because you mentioned this whole issue of transitioning, and sometimes you finish before trying to figure out what you want to do, and you might not figure it out in time, and it can get a little bit. It can get very difficult. I spoke to a few ex-players. I think a few weeks ago we had a session where we were talking about like transitioning and life after football. And I think it was Tony Buffo who said that for a lot of the players, the reality doesn't they struggle to accept the reality that you're out of the game. And when the routine is not the same, it can get a bit difficult.
It can get a bit, well, not a bit, but it can get very frustrating. And as I said, they can get some players into depression and stuff like that because, they can't accept that the game is finished. But I mean, if you prepare yourself, then it's okay. Then you're good to go. And I'm still exploring other courses around football as well, and that's what I spend my free time doing. So I go home and I do some few courses online.
Squad scouting.
Yeah, I'm actually doing this course, CFM, which is a Certificate of Football Management.
Oh, nice.
With this UEFA guy, so that's another course I'm doing. I'm spending my extra time and doing is involved in football except coaching. So I'm done with my coaching license, so I'm just exploring other stuff within football organization. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I was reading this thing about like giving professional players. You could have gone straight to do the A, the UEFA A as an ex-player, but you decided to do C, B, all the way to A. Why did you have to put yourself through that when you could have just skipped some of them?
I mean, you can. I think there's no short corner to anything. So I'd rather start from the scratch. I spent my whole time being a footballer, and I just do what I'm told to do, and I just add my skills to my determination into it. So And coaching is very different than playing. Actually, there's a lot more that goes on into coaching. So I decided to start from the scratch, how it's done, and then gradually move myself up there, and eventually I managed to finish the A, which was very, trust me, it was very difficult.
Every time you go there, you say, like, what is it about? Like, what is the curriculum like? Is it true that they make you write like some theses?
You have to. I mean, you have to.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, of course, you have to. You do your section, you plan your section. You have to. I mean, write into duties what you want to, to see in the session. What is the session about? And so you have to write everything down. So it's not. If you are not sharp, a little bit sharp, then you find yourself in trouble. But yeah, you have to write the sessions down. And,
I'm glad you passed it, because I read somewhere like some of the coaches that you played under, they say this coach did his whole coaching thesis on like defending, and this one did it on counter press and stuff like that. I'm like, I mean, how do you even write a whole paper on that? But that's really interesting. But so is that something that you mentioned, the fact that you're taking other courses around football, but there is another level above the A, which is
yes,
is that something you're thinking about?
There's the pro. The pro is the last one, but actually the pro is more about leadership. I think more is not much to do in like planning sessions. So maybe for now no, but maybe at some point I will just do it, and for the experience and see. So let's see. But for now, I don't want to. I'm not thinking about being a head coach. It's too stressful.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You enjoy doing what you're doing now more than being there?
Yeah, more than being the main man, and with all this media and camera in your face, it's definitely not me. So.
I mean,
but you never know. Maybe at some point. But for now,
I love it. I think if that point comes, I think you would have been ready. I think when that point comes, you'll be ready, because, I mean, you've started right from the very bottom, the very beginning, and building yourself up. I mean, I don't think a lot of coaches, have that patience, especially ex-players, right? You just go straight to the top. Some of them actually finish and straight they get a big team, and the coaching don't have the opportunity to do what you're doing. I saw even after training, you were in the stands looking for footballs and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of attitude is very humbling for me to see, but also it must have a certain impact on the players, because if they see that Michael Essien is the one looking for footballs in the stands, what about you?
What about me?
No, what about the kids? Like,
okay. I mean,
that you're doing, it must have a certain impact on them in terms of like respect and character building and all those things.
Yeah, it's true. But I also learned that when I came, actually, I'm an observer. I observe a lot, and I take my actions depend on that. So when I came, it was our head coach Fleming Pedersen, and then we have Didi Dramani here. Of
course.
And they were doing it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. After the session, they'll go around, collect all the balls and make sure we have. If we came out with 50 balls, we make sure we have 50 balls. So, looking at them doing it, of course, I have to do it. So, and then me doing it, also, make an impact on the boys, and they go out and do it. Or sometimes I have to just shout, and then we all go look for the balls together. So,
that's amazing. I mean, and the reason I asked that question is I'm looking at the kind of role models that these kids have in someone like you, and I'm looking at what they're getting by you being here, and compared to, let's say, when you were starting out. What would you say are the differences right now in terms of how talent comes through, and then how talent came through during your time?
I mean, I would say our time we have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
We have to learn the hard way.
Not easy.
Now things have changed, and different generations. But the talent is still the same. It's football. You just have to to make an impact for them to take something from you and develop their football.
Yeah.
As you said, we have to learn the hard way, and you know how it is. Sometimes you get beaten by, or you get hit by a senior player. But it's not like they hate you or something. It's just for you to take an action, and for you to react. So, by this generation, you just need to talk to them. You now you can't just hit someone's kid. It's not allowed. You know, of course, we deal with a lot of young athletes, so you have to be, you know, be a role model and at the same time like a big brother to them. So you talk to them, you know, nicely, then they take.
Is that like a society thing that times have changed a little bit? Because I think, was it Jose has spoken about that? He says when he was coaching people, like, it was much easier, like, you could come into your face, but like you just mentioned, now you can't do that with the kids anymore. I mean, I don't know, why is that? Because it's professional sport. It has to be a very competitive environment.
I mean, well, as I said, you know, it's generation. This is their generation, so we have to adapt to their generation.
Yeah.
Where back in the days when you said Jose will come to your face. I mean, I remember Jose. Even first half we will not talk about tactics. You have a go at each player, but then we go out. We have to take initiative and react and make sure we change the game. But now it's not the same. It's different. So, you know, we are working on it, and also, of course, you need to find the right words to use on the players. So yeah.
Some people like to say that these days the players are soft. I think people say that. People say that, even in the media. I mean, obviously you would not say that because you're dealing with them, so you know them better. But like on the outside, like when you know, even it's not just like, even in the Black Stars or whatever, you criticize a player, they coming and they're reacting and they, you know, getting back into their shell, and people are like, hey, players are soft. But you make a very good point that we have to understand that times have changed.
Yeah.
And the players, the generations, the characters are different. But also, it's not just the attitudes that have changed. The tactics have also changed. It looks like everybody wants to play differently now. I mean, what are the main differences between like the time you were playing and now in terms of even tactical evolution?
I mean, I think so much have changed in the football world now, and you know, every day there's new trend going on in football. Back in the days, if there's a goalkeeper, the players are now allowed in the box. You know, so then you have to go long, establish your player somewhere. Now you see defenders in the box or close to the goalkeeper. You know, everyone everyone want to play from the back and, you know, play nice football with an attacking mindset. That's what we do here. So those things is changing, and you know, now the goalkeepers are more involved in the game now than back in the days. Back in the days, you make a pass to a goalkeeper, your coach will be screaming at it. And then the goalkeeper will just kick the ball in. But now you need to find out the goalkeeper is more involved. It's like the extra man you have on the pitch. So yeah, it's changed a lot, but it's more beautiful when you see a good team playing. So.
Which system do you think would have maybe fit up perfectly into your game? The now tiki-taka kind of system, or what you came up with?
I want to win.
You just want to win. That's
I want to win. But also, of course, with an attacking mindset. So yeah.
And in terms of even like the physical demands of the game, that has changed a little bit as well. Is that something that you've noticed, that there's less emphasis on strength and more emphasis on maybe tactical or technical ability? Because someone has said that even it looks like the era of like the most skillful players, it's going away. No number 10s. Maybe everybody's now like an 8 hybrid. I don't know. Can you just go into those details for me? Like, what is happening even with the midfield evolution? Because the typical DMs like destroyers, even those ones are going extinct.
It's true actually, but that's what I'm saying. Football is changing, and now you don't really have the, you know, as you said, the number 10 position. The number 10 position is disappeared. So it's 2 8 and a 6, and those 2 8 can become the 10.
Yeah.
So it depends how you want to play, and also sometimes you move your fullbacks high, wingers in to create some overload to have more players in the pocket. You know, so yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult. It's very difficult when I look at the situation now, especially with the DM, because when I look at even players like Rodri, he plays like a DM, but he's not really. He doesn't really have maybe the same. He doesn't use strength as much. Doesn't go slide into tackles as much, and it's like, and the world, everybody says that's the best DM in the world. I'm like, that's not what I grew up watching. When it comes to DM,
of course, our time is different. You know, our time, you know how football is. It was quite physical, quite physical. So you know, and you know. Fans like to, you know, players going in tackles and all of that. But, you know, you talk about Rodri, we play for Man City, you have the ball all the time, so do you really need to tackle now?
FCN has a very good history of very successful African players that have come here in the past. Saman Adingra, Kudus, Kamaldeen. What do you make of the current generation of African players that are here right now, the talent level in terms of where they can potentially go?
Well, I will start by saying that, you know, it's an amazing, great thing that Right to Dream giving these boys and also the girls the opportunity to develop their football and also academically to develop their education. And of course, as you mentioned, we've had some quite the good ones that have come through from Right to Dream to FCN, and they've moved on to other places in their career, and also, you know, some have become African champion, like Simon. I remember Simon, his first training with the first team, he broke his arm, and he was.
When he came here, you were here already.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I was here when he came, and his first training, he broke his arm.
Oh my God!
And he was very, very sad. But you know, every morning I go to him and say, "It's okay, don't worry. It's just a broken arm. It's nothing too much to worry about." And then he kept, you know, listening to me. He kept, and then once he was recovered, and the rest was history. You know. So of course I had Kamaldeen, I had Diomande and them lot. So yeah, it's good. And now we have a few of the Right to Dream boys that have made it through to FCN. So yeah, the talent is there. So hopefully they can look up to the ones who have made it. You know, moved on to their.
You didn't come to Kudus, right?
Sorry. No, when I came, Kudus was gone. Yeah, Kudus was gone.
I mean, Kamaldeen, I spoke to Tom once and I asked him who the most talented RTD graduate is. He mentioned, I think, someone else, but then he says Kamaldeen has the talent of Vinicius Junior. He just needs to stay fit. You've worked with him, you've played the game, so you can see a quality player when you see it. Do those thoughts align with yours? You think he's really like that talented?
No, I mean, I agree with Tom. I mean, Kamal was exceptional when I was here. Wow. I mean, he can win a game, but on his own, he could do everything. He's got the speed, the technique, the dribbling skills and everything. And he's strong. You see him, you wouldn't think he's that strong.
Power.
So he's got everything, but you know, as I said, if he can stay fit, but you know, those things is hard to control those things. But you know, keeping my fingers crossed, he can stay fit, and then they can. The world can really see Kamaldeen, because he's got everything to to be at the top. So,
And Diomande, you are his favorite player.
And I love that boy. He was such
I don't know what you did for him, but you are his favorite. He doesn't stop talking about it.
That's good. I mean, we had a really. We were born really good when I came here, and of course he will come to my place. He will prepare their check and everything. So we became very close, and you know, of course I see him every day. So we'll be talking when he's away. We'll be texting. So yeah, we became very close, and I'm happy for him to move to Rangers. And you know, I was watching their game yesterday, but unfortunately they lost.
They lost, they lost.
I mean, they lost their good team, so it's okay.
You know, I don't know if he. I'm sure maybe he must have told you, given how close you were. Ghana called him up where then Cote d'Ivoire took him and called him up, and he dished us. I'm like, didn't you talk to Michael?
I have something to say, but I don't know if I have to say. I will say off camera.
You can say it off camera.
I will say it off camera. Yeah, but I mean, I don't blame him.
That's totally fine. Now we lost it. He's a quality player. I would have liked for us to have, but obviously we don't control that.
He's a top player, and he's a very dynamic. He's a player that understands the game and understands the tactics, and he's
awesome.
He's very agile and everything is there with intensity and tempo into it. Yeah, so.
Amazing kid. And as for Simon, I was making a joke the other day. I was like, so Right to Dream in Ghana like produce all these players, and it's an Ivorian who's gone on to win the AFCON first before us. But he's a very special talent as well. The Simon Edingra kid.
Well, I call him Simon. He will not be happy if he says Simon.
I'm sorry.
It's Simon. Yeah, I mean, he's a quality player. I mean, he's a good kid as well, but a quality top player.
Wow.
He's so smart, and one of the things he does best is how he is. We do the blind pressure. He will steal the ball off the defenders all the time, and his first touch is always quality.
Wow.
Always quality. And when he's coming at you in tempo, you don't know where he's going. So he's a very smart and very clever player. And I wish him all the best.
Yeah. Is there, are there any, having dealt with this, in fact, you in particular, Michael, I don't know what it is, but during your playing time, you played with so many Ivorians. And now, even at FCN, you're dealing with so many Ivorians. What is it? What's that? How is that? You somehow you can't escape them.
I don't know. I think I'm just lucky. And also, of course, I'm from second year. I'm a third year. So I'm close to Africa. Probably that's why. But I mean, also, I think it's also I was lucky. I mean, I was at Chelsea with. A few Ivorians, Drogba, Carlos, and them lot, and also coming here with all these young Ivorians. And I could speak the French, so I think it makes more easier for us to connect. So.
Are there any differences in attitudes, like Ivorian players, Ghanaian players, from your experience, even from the playing days, even for now dealing with them? Are there any differences between the Ghanaian player and the Ivorian player?
I mean, it's more or less the same. It's more or less the same. It depends on the individual how much you want it, and how much you want to, work hard and take your football into different levels. Yeah.
When you look at the FCN project, you've been to Chelsea, Real Madrid, Lyon, AC Milan, big clubs. What makes this place so special? Because every time, right now, especially like the last 6 years, they've produced some of the best talents.
I mean, this place is special. I know when you came, they treat you nice, no?
They took me around, that's true. So you don't have to tell me.
No, it's really, I think it's, I've been to many places with top clubs and everything, but I think those clubs is more about how do we say, performance environment, where here is development environment. So. And of course, we deal with a very young athletes. We have to, develop their football, but also, teach them how to be a man. Yeah. Have to be a good man and stuff like that. And so you can see, it's one of the clubs that produce a lot of young players in Europe and play with a lot of young players as well. You look at the squad; they're all young. So, and the organization is, is one of the best. I've played in many places, but this organization is second to none. It's one of the best. Yeah.
And I got introduced to the girls project as well. That really excited me a lot because I don't even think a lot of clubs have such a great girls football academy. And I was making a joke that we're Right to Dream starting with the women now in about 8 years we'll win Olympic Games. We wouldn't develop our own way for Right to Dream.
Possibly, and Right to Dream was one of the I think the first academy in Africa to develop a girls talent or girls residency.
Yeah.
But so slowly girls football is growing up, and also you look at their women's heroes and stuff like that. It's growing, so we all here to to support.
Yep.
At some point I was one of the ambassadors for the Women's World Cup in Paris, where we met and promote the women's game. So yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing they are doing, and here is something special. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take you off FCN a little bit and just ask you to do a few things for me, which should be fun, I hope.
No tricky questions.
Yeah, just like do some blind ranking of players for me, like that sort of thing. You want to know who is where, and so you just put them in different numbers for me.
Oosh.
They're midfielders,
okay.
So including yourself. So I've got like 7 players.
7?
Just 7. Just rank them for me, Mike.
And I have to place them?
Yeah, you have to place them in each number.
From 1 to 7?
Yeah, so when I mention the name, you decide where they rank without knowing whose name I'm mentioning next.
Ooh, la, la, la.
That's the beauty of the blind rank, right? You don't know who I'm mentioning next, but you just have to put them somewhere. And at the end of it, I will read your rankings to you and see whether it makes sense.
Okay.
So rank these 7 midfielders for me. Where would you put Anthony Annan? So they're mostly DMs, so to be fair. Out of 7, you don't know who I'm going to mention next, so.
I think I'll put Anthony 7.
Anthony 7? Okay. Where would you put Essien?
I don't know who is coming next, but I hate talking about myself.
Ghana, my name is Benjamin Akakpo, and shortly I'm going to be sharing with you my blunt thoughts, like I would usually do on a Friday morning. Mano Bokiti, pepe. Today I've titled my blunt thoughts, Evicting Our Football, Shifting the Electoral Goalposts, and Pampering Galamsey's Skullduggery. Why we continue to bleed. Evicting our football, shifting the electoral goalposts, and pampering Galamsey's Skullduggery. Why we continue to bleed. Living in this country will never make sense until we get our politics right. Because we ourselves, as a people, have become so political that we can't see beyond our political noses. You see black, you say it's white for political expediency. But expediency is for the short term. How about the long term? How about the future? Near future, medium future, distant future. And that's what some of us think about. And some of you, it's good. When I go around, I meet a lot of people who will be, oh, Mr. Akakpo, oh, this and that, and you're doing such a fantastic job. Yeah, there are the few nefarious nuts who will be like, oh, and you're too hard on us, and they've forgotten the past. But today, I want to reflect on 3 crucial issues, because this country, every day, makes less and less sense to me. Unless we are not thinking, I'm sorry. Because you don't go to, and you see, for some of us who are, at least we've traveled, Kakra. Oh, you say, but we've traveled. And some of you have too. And you see what is happening here. You see that it does not make sense. But because of political myopism, you are politically short-sighted. So you see, but you pretend. You shift goalposts. Yeah, the party when they try me through oh, medium me free hantino, yeah, they 2 NDC. Oh, aha, yeah, they 2 MPP. Eba boy ni na yetriso. What is here? Let's keep playing those games. The day wahala will come, God forbid. Like I was telling someone in the studio during the news review this morning, me, I've seen war, I've seen chaos before. No one wants that. I went through the ordeal. You may even be older than I am, but you've not experienced that. So when I come from a certain standpoint and tell you something, you should believe it. It's like that saying, If the animal from the bottom of, the river or the pond comes to tell you that the crocodile is dead, but come with me to the slides, because the first thing, though it's probably the least issue among the three I'm going to look at, it boggles my mind how a footballing nation like Ghana got to this point. Pitch, so I say a picture, haircut and quay. So we ask idea, so bonus sakura. That is one of our pitches. Whether you go to Ohenejan, Baba Yara, and the rest of them. And I'll share with you the horrifying bit about the cost, how many millions, dollars and cedis we've expended into these. And today, we can't even find a pitch in Ghana on which to play qualifiers. And so we are exploring going to Togo. Togo! I'm not denigrating Togolese. But if we talk of footballing nations and football infrastructure, Ghana, Togo, which one? How did we get here? Let's go to the next slide. Now, CAF's reasons for banning our stadia, right? Unsuitable playing fields. I'm saying that first match, which team were we playing? Was it Angola or Uganda or one of those? And there was a portion where, what's his name? Partey got a ball. He had, those are balls that in England, Partey will hit it one time. I saw Chalky. And yes, I'll be planning. Now, small match he go play for Ghana, you won't hurt him. He goes into injury again the whole season. No Arsenal. No logical player would do that. Then we say, oh, they come and they don't know. Then look at your pitches. They are death traps, injury traps, your pitches. Now, if we go back, if we go to that other slide, inadequate grass cover, that is what you saw. Pitch na ese will be a Yamano. Ghana. Uneven surfaces. And then poor drainage. In fact, that reminds me, you see those astroturfs we have around? A few of them here, Jowlo and other places. Good call. The communities can't even use them. I hear you have to pay this and that. And so what was the essence of them? I mean, Mr. Coleman, my friend, fantastic guy. He's been in charge of a lot of these. But I'm asking this government, even the astro pitches that we've put in certain areas, people can't access them. People have come to me. Oh, we can't even access the astroturfs. So what's the use? Next slide. But this is where, shall we go to the next slide? This is where it gets interesting. Because I always like dealing with figures, value for money, and whether it makes sense to you. Expenditure on stadia projects in Ghana. One by one. Let's do this. University of Ghana Stadium. It was practically done. All Africa Games. 34 million. And I'm not talking CDs here. I'm talking Soko dollars. American dollars. Not Australian dollars. Not Canadian dollars. American dollars. 34 million. Ohenejan Stadium. 49 million. Baba Yara Stadium, 37 million. When I say it, you add the million. Tamale Stadium, 77. I said lotto numbers. Oh. And then Cape Coast Stadium, 33.5. Look, I've not added it. I'm just deciding to do this. If you do the math, this is like 50, 83. That will give you 100 and about 20. This is about 197. You are talking of about 205 million, 203.5 million. I just did this of dollars expended on these stadia from the University of Ghana, Ohenejan, Baba Yara, Tamale to Cape Coast. And as of now, we can't find one to play on. And someone will say, oh, the NSA boss has been sacked. Did we have to get here? How about the sports minister? Oh, the GFA, the Maon, they come. And you say it, and I'm sorry, some ignoramus will sit in some corner because of political affiliations and say, in your entire lifetime, when have you seen this happen before? Tell me. When? Such a disgrace. Next slide. Then, CAF will also come and tell us that $260,000 was paid for pitch maintenance in Ghana to our FA, 260,000. We could have expended it in such a way that the pitches will be organizing all kinds of events on the pitches. And who knows where the money goes. After all, Stoneboy, after his own, the Sports Authority and others were saying they had collected one sum. Stoneboy's team said, there be Ghana. When will we ever be truthful? Next slide. Then you look at cost of stadium rehabilitation. Earlier, I was talking about putting them up. Now, rehabilitation, it's not as though we hadn't been attributing cost to that. Yet, where has the money gone? And why are our pitches looking the way they do? Baba Yara Stadium, March 27, 2020, we had expended 21 million Ghana cedis. Accra Sports Stadium, February, Ohenejan, 22 million. Takrade Stadium, July 14, 2023, multiply that almost twice, 41 million. And still, we can't find one stadium in Ghana. Clap for our sports, sector in Ghana. Aiko, you've done so well. And yet people will not even have the dignity to resign. And people in Ghana, ordinary citizens, will not push for it because of political party. I say, look, in the other jurisdictions, they are no better than we are. You can't do this in Japan, Norway, Finland, some of these jurisdictions. Oh, we are not there yet. When will we get there? Next slide. And the response from the sports ministry, issues with Accra Sports Stadium are being addressed. In the meantime, we are going to another country to go and play. University of Ghana Stadium awaiting CAF inspection. That one, Mr. Sports Minister, I beg you, because I don't want to hear another OPPP on we'll claim because of that we've gone to expend another 20 million. Or the emphasis are why? Yeah, relax. Next slide. But then, you remember the second part of the conversation I started about our elections. It's so hypocritical, sometimes I begin to get fed up. In 2016, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the present voters register that we have in Ghana is bloated and anomalous. I was a president or Pebrofo. Anomalous. And there is an urgent need to make sure we get a new voters register before the next election. Urgent need. New voters register before the next election. Next slide. An audit was granted and the register was passed. We went ahead. But the EC before 2016 elections, Charlotte says EC. We disagree with any assertion that the register as we have it at the moment is bloated. It is not in any way bloated. If anybody suggests that the register as we have it is bloated, then I am surprised because it is not supported by the statistical figures that we have. It appears always the opposition is in one corner, the EC is in another corner. And it just paints quite a picture. And the ruling administration is always seemingly in bed with the Electoral Commission. Very supportive. But these accusations that are made by both sides, do they really make sense? Come with me. Next slide. The 2024 voter register, bloated or not, Bright Simmons' query, and it's good to go back into time because in 2016, guess what? The percentage of registered voters vis-a-vis the total population, in 2016, it was 53%. In 2024, it is 54%. So if we are using Nanado's logic, if this was bloated, then this must be bloated. But it is not necessarily so. Which is why politicians ought to be careful. Because you see, what you said back then, now is hanging around your neck like an albatross. It may not necessarily be bloated. But you see, you see how politics can get you. And let's go to this final one. Let's go. Next slide. Now, I'm ending with Galamsey because I think recently I heard Ojiahoho, the National House of Chiefs president, talking about, oh, and we shouldn't end Galam, you know, we shouldn't say we want a wholesale ban and all of that. Sometimes I listen to some of the chiefs as well, and I shake my head. Michel Mudin, no disrespect, but some of our traditional rulers are a grave part of our problem. I read everything Nana had to say, and I got a bit worried. But I understand how the system is, and I'm not going to go direct on Nana for the sake of some scintilla of respect for the chieftaincy institution. But I think some of our leaders, they would do themselves better service by keeping mute. I think so, honestly. Now, organized labor is also saying, and this will be my final bit, while the government team accepted these proposals, it requested additional time to engage other stakeholders. We want to reiterate that our initial demands remain unchanged, and if a favorable response is not received by the end of September 2024, organized labor's intended actions would be rolled out. Well, I am not government. I am not Ekufuado. I am not the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Honorable Jinapo, or anybody. I guess our leaders will decide for us. But while they are in office, we put them there, and we shall hold their feet to the fire of accountability, whether they like it or not. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. Maka. Thank you for watching Ghana 4. Up next, we have a conversation on the 24-hour economy. I'll be right back. Welcome back on the AM show. Before we get into our next conversation, let me tell you about the Energy Commission and the Ministry of Energy in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana TVET Service, presenting the 5th edition of the Energy Commission Senior High School's Renewable Energy Challenge. Now, this challenge aims at developing the research skills of senior high school students and promoting technological innovation in renewable energy. Competing fiercely in this thrilling competition are the following schools: Obuasi SHTS, St. James Seminary SHS, Ola Girls SHS, Ahantaman Girls SHS, Bando SHS, and Dabokpa Technical Institute. Join us for the grand finale on Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024 at the Accra International Conference Center. It's going to be butu-butu. You can catch the live broadcast on Joy News at 9 a.m. And this event is proudly supported by the GIZ, Ashesi University, the French Development Agency, the VRA, and more. But this morning, there's been a lot of talk about 24-hour economy, and some of you, and maybe even those of us in the studio, have been scratching our heads about what it is, the viability of same, and if we went down that road, what it would mean for our economy. So implementing a 24-hour economy in Ghana could boost GDP, overall economic growth, by increasing productivity, job creation, and revenue generation. But what could be the downsides? Would it impact all aspects of the economy? Well, this morning we have a conversation with our guest. He is an associate professor at the School of Business in Nairobi, Kenya, and he also is going to be talking to us about the 24-hour economy and its potential impact on Ghana's GDP. I'm pleased to give you Professor Jonathan Annan. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
It's good having you in the studio. I see you came with a notebook. It appears there's a lot you have to share with us.
Maybe if I have to refer to some facts.
Okay.
Later, yeah.
But I hope the conversation is not going to be too scholarly.
No.
Professors, there sometimes you come into the studio and...
Exactly. I don't want it to be like that at all. I don't want that. Okay. The fact that the name professor, we are not coming to talk about theories here. No, not at all.
Because if you go theoretical, I'll push you into the practical area.
Exactly, that is what I want. Yes, that is what I want.
But let me just ask you, just to situate your academic records. Where have you been? What have you done? Just briefly on that. So
briefly,
those watching us understand where you're coming.
Exactly. Briefly, formally, I was at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I was former head of Department of Department of Supply Chain and Information Systems. Then I was also the coordinator for PhD programs. Then I was a council member for West Africa Examination Council. And I'm currently also the council chair for Institute of Project Management Ghana. But this is prior to being appointed as associate professor at Strathmore University Business School. I'm the academic lead over there. I've also been an entrepreneur, and I have been doing well, and I like the fact that I've been sharing experiences in Kenya and Ghana. Briefly, this is what I'll say about myself.
All right. Well, it's good you've put it so succinctly. So let's talk about this 24-hour brouhaha. Everyone is, there's been a lot of talk about it. Can you briefly explain from where you sit? What does this entire 24-hour economy mean to you?
From my perspective, and generally what is happening in other countries, I see it is just working, businesses working throughout 24 hours, maybe in a day, 7 days in a week, throughout. And when that happens, we have extended working hours and then flexibility of working hours. You can decide to go in the morning shift, in the afternoon shift, or in the night shift. And that boosts productivity, increased job creation. And I believe if it is well implemented in Ghana, it will help boost up our economic viability in terms of GDP.
How does this operate in practice? And here I'm asking for example, examples. You cannot speak about these things in a vacuum. So you can have a brilliant idea, but the devil is in the execution. How has this operated in reality?
Let me give a practical example in Ghana here. I'm talking about extended hours. Let's take an organization like the Ghana Cocoa Board. Ghana Cocoa Board, they have been operating with stakeholders like the farmers. The farmers produce the cocoa beans, the hauliers transport the bags of cocoa to the takeover centers. And this has been creating a lot of congestion at the takeover centers. They have LBCs, about 56 LBCs, licensed buying cocoa company. And what is happening at the moment is that Cocoa Board has to ensure that they have an allocation system for the LBCs. So these LBCs now will they buy and transport the cocoa beans to the takeover centers. They have 3 takeover centers. We have the one in Kumasi, Kasi, Takoradi, and Tema Port. What is happening is that when they transport the beans, because of the allocation system, and when they get there, at the peak season, peak periods from October to December, there's a lot of congestion. You see the trucks, they have long queues. Why? What is the cause of that? It is as a result of the gangs. When I say the gangs, they have a task force. They offload the bags of cocoa when the trucks get there. And they work only 8 hours, from 8 to 5 p.m. The staff also at the takeover centers also work within these 8 hours. And so in the situation, they are not able to evacuate, offload the bags of cocoa. It results in congestion. Long queues. Some of the trucks can be there for days, for weeks. And what can be done in this situation? Now, when we have the 24-hour economy, the workers, those who are offloading, the gangs, which I call them the task force, they can be working in the morning shift, in the afternoon shift, in the night shift, so that there is no stoppage in offloading the bags of cocoa. No. Then again, the staff also can also be working 24 hours, the morning, the afternoon, and the night shift.
That means more manpower. How are they going to handle that? More recruitment?
That is what is going to create the jobs, more recruitment, because the same person cannot work in the morning shift and come in the afternoon shift. So that will create a lot of jobs. You get more people, apart from the task, the gangs who are constituting the task force. You will also have the staff of Cocoa Board at the takeover centers also being increased. And I think
that's one example, and it's an interesting example you cite. Are there other areas you feel, and I'll want us to go outside, but before we do that, are there other areas you feel we can harness this, tap into this, as far as our own localized system is concerned?
Very, very, very well. Why am I saying that? Let's go to the agri sector, the agro-processing industry. And permit me to give a very, very practical example from where I'm coming from. I'm coming from Ejumakun Enyan Esiam constituency, that area. In fact, cassava production is key. You walk around the area, you travel around in the morning, in the afternoon, even in the night, you see people packing, trucks loading cassava in large quantities. So we can set up agro-processing, a cassava factory, processing factory over there, because we have the raw materials there. Now, who says the machines...
But with what this current administration is doing, I don't know what they have on the ground there, but is 1D, 1F not a solution to this problem? And must it necessarily be a 24-hour system before it works?
Exactly, because if it is a solution, we want to boost productivity. Now, I have already said that when we talk of the 24-hour system, the advantage is working at the extended hours and the flexibility of working. And the extended hours will increase productivity. For example, if I am using 8 hours to produce about 5,000 bags of cassava, then exactly when all things being equal anyway, when I'm using 16 hours, then I'm definitely going to produce about 10,000 bags. So the extended hours will create more jobs and then increase productivity. So what I'm saying is that now, this 1D, 1F concept may be there, but they may be working from 8 hours to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and they close and they go and sleep. But what about having this 24-hour economy? We have set up this cassava processing factory. We have the farmers bringing the cassava to the production site. We have people working in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the night shift. There will be so much productivity in terms of the cassava production.
But you also know, you must take cognizance of the fact that there's demand and supply. And if this happens, it would mean then that the farmers are going to benefit, yes, because much more of their products will hit the market. There will not be a glut. But the other side of it would be that the prices of their goods would also fall. Once there is more in the system, there will be a fall in prices.
That is marketing. Let me tell you, I have a colleague who is also a professor in Canada. I don't want to mention the name here. He told me, and I have been working with him. We were teaching in the same university in Accra, a private one. This man told me, I have been popularly called Hammer in Ghana, in Kumasi. He said, Prof. Hammer, I need 100 hectares of land. I said, what do you mean, 100 hectares? He said, yes. And what are you using it for? Just to plant cassava and process gari. I said, what for? Do you have the market? He said, he cannot meet the market. Outside, exporting gari outside, so much market. There's a huge market, I'm telling you, Ben. And so we are underestimating the potential of exporting gari. And therefore, this 24-hour economy is going to increase productivity. So with regards to demand and supply, there is so much demand. Let me tell you, Ben, even Nigeria, just our sister country here, you know, because of Eba, they consume a lot of gari. It will shock you that people are exporting bags of gari from Ghana to Nigeria. Inter-African trade. So we are underestimating the potential.
We're underestimating the potential.
Yes,
I do know that yam, for example, something that most people haven't averted their minds to, at least for a number of years now, you know, countries like Jamaica and others are high producers of yam. Ghana has been number one, at least for a few years now. I do not know, I do not have the statistics of about how much more we have invested in, for example, yam production and whether we could apply some of these principles.
Exactly.
But let's briefly, because when you talk about these things, sometimes it appears, okay, what are the examples we can latch on to? Let's go outside briefly before we come back to Ghana and the rest of Africa. What have you seen or heard of or researched in other jurisdictions that you think could be applicable here in terms of a 24-hour economy?
I can give examples in developed countries, but you know, I'm sure people will say, why developed countries? Because we are not a developed country. So let me not go far. And I think Ben will not say that because you have been in Kenya, you want to now bring Kenya. Yes, very, 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 very simple. Ben, we have been underestimating our potential.
How so?
In terms of locally produced goods. I have been in Kenya since 2020. And let me give...
Since 2020?
Yeah, since 2020. But let me give you briefly 3 products from Ghana. Black soup, the one we call alata semina, shea butter. And then, I'm not doing advert for CPC, this royal cocoa powder. It is in high demand in Kenya, I'm telling you. I did that one myself, Ben. It is not that somebody did it. I took this black soup, and as a professor, I gave it to my students. Then I told you that I have been an entrepreneur. So I wanted to see how this will sell in Kenya. I went to the shopping malls, one of them popularly called Carrefour. I went to Carrefour, Mega. Then anybody I saw, especially those working there, I just gave them the black soup. I said, try this. The next time I went there, they were asking me, Prof, where is your website? We want a lot of them. One lady even excited me. According to the lady, she has said so much about this black soup. He decided to use the black soup to wash the hair. And she said she realized that all the dandruff has been removed.
With alata semina?
With alata semina. And so much demand. And we can now take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, trading among ourselves, intra-African trade. And what I'm saying is that why can't we export shea butter, alata semina, this royal cocoa product? And especially, even if you go there, anytime you arrive in Kenya, they ask you, did you bring Ghanaian chocolate? Why? Because Ghanaian chocolate to them has extra quality.
But these things you're talking about from alata semina, I have a friend who, produces alata semina, some with lemongrass. Recently, I got some from her. It's called Nguvu. Yeah, it's some of the benefits of being Benjamin Akapo's friend. It's called Nguvu. She puts it out there. And interestingly, you mentioned Kenya. She has her products in Kenya, right?
And are they not selling?
No, but the point is, when you talk of shea butter, there are entities in Ghana. I know another one, is it Kaime, which I've used in the past, who also exports these products. Alata semina, shea butter, and the rest. Does it necessarily mean we need a 24-hour economy to work on that? Because people are already doing it.
Great, great. You see, what is the whole essence of 24-hour economy? To boost productivity, to create jobs, to attract FDIs, foreign direct investment. And I have already said, and I'll continue to reiterate, repeat, emphasize that, Ben, it is working at extended hours. Working at extended hours. We will have individuals that will be undertaking these businesses and they don't work 24 hours. They don't work 24 hours, they'll just produce the quantity. But if I'm talking about working 24 hours, Ben, I'm talking of producing in large quantities. We are talking of mass production. That is why I was telling you that there are shortages. People were asking me of the black soap, but have I set up a factory to produce it in large quantities, taking advantage of 24-hour economy, having morning shift, afternoon shift, so that I can produce them in large quantities? That is not happening in Ghana. So I believe that this concept needs to be embraced seriously.
So let me ask you though, because another real life issue we know is that, and that's an interesting bit, Ghanaians in Ghana will work in a certain lackadaisical way. Some, not all Ghanaians.
Exactly.
But put that same Ghanaian, even in Kenya or Rwanda or some place outside of Africa, that Ghanaian is the hardest worker you've ever seen. Sometimes that is what happens. So let me ask you, is it not also because we have poor, ineffective, inefficient systems in industry in Ghana? Because you go to some places and if people are not logging in and logging out, they'll come in anytime they want, they'll do whatever they want. I don't know, for those who are working remotely in Ghana, if you're not monitoring, I don't know what output you'll get. Is it not about ensuring industrial efficiency and effectiveness rather than increasing hours?
Ensuring industrial efficiency is one aspect.
Because you can still have a 24-hour system and there will still be
so Ben, that is why we have regulations. We have to get framework guiding the 24-hour economy. Even if we don't have regulations or framework guiding the 24-hour economy, there will be tax evasion. People will not even, they will be working 24 hours. Now government will be incentivizing organizations that will be working 24 hours and say, oh, maybe you pay half of the electricity bills because you are working at night. Certain incentives will be given, but it is all about proper regulatory framework, put in place.
So what you're saying is that in the middle of all of this, probably the most crucial aspect of all of this is that you can talk about a 24-hour economy. It can be implemented,
yes,
but the devil is in the detail of how it will be done. You see, you are talking about incentivizing electricity consumption and
exactly.
all of that.
Proper
Without all of
framework.
these, this is just flowery talk.
Exactly. There must be proper regulatory framework guiding the 24-hour economy.
We don't have that now fully, do we?
Because we are not practicing it. And I believe that any government that wants to practice it will make sure that they put in place this.
But I'm curious, it's like a chicken and egg situation. Which one comes first? So what comes first? Should it be the measures put in place, like you're saying, that we are going to do this, this has been implemented, you operate at this time of night, you get tax incentives, or you even get lower tariffs on electricity and even water and others. And we have provided security before we roll it out, or we roll it out before these things?
No, the regulatory framework should be there first. It should start first. Now, Ben, if there is no regulatory framework, lack of security, infrastructure, how can you operate 24 hours when in the night you don't have security on our roads? That cannot be done. So for me, from my perspective, in fact, I stand to be debated on that. I believe that the regulatory framework should be put in place first before, because that will guide people, that will guide organizations, the incentives that organizations will have. And again, Ben, let me chip in this before maybe you bring in any other question. Why I'm saying that the regulatory framework should be put in place is this. The 24-hour economy has challenges, and it thrives on the fact that there must be infrastructure. And we must have good roads so that when people are moving to and fro, there must be security. And I'm giving a practical example. I one time had a problem, and I called in the night in Accra, and I called on someone to assist. The person was living close by. The person also could not. So I didn't also bring my car to Accra, so the only option is now to call on Uber. That was about 3 a.m. I struggled. I don't want to mention where I was
so
in Accra.
You had come from Kenya, you were not driving,
yes.
And this person could not help you. So
yes.
You had to
call on Uber.
A ride-hailing service.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, it took a long time. From 3 a.m., the rider arrived around getting to 4:35. Then that was the only option I had. And I said, oh, wow, if it had been in Kenya, I'll have this within 15 minutes. So when the guy came, I was mad. And I was telling the driver, why is it that it is difficult to have this? He said, master, and now I'm walking. What you are telling me? Look at where you are. Look at the road. There are not even street lights. And there are occasions that we have been coming here and we have been attacked by armed robbers. So how can I come? Even accessibility, the road to where you are, is not a good one. And I was afraid because I cannot drive in darkness. Imagine. So that is what I'm trying to say, that there must be infrastructure put in place.
But if we're talking infrastructure, then it will take a long time for us to even think about this, because you know the state of roads in Ghana. I mean, how many places have the good roads that would make people, there will be that free flow traffic even at night and all of that? How many parts of Ghana have roads? Even street lights.
That is
the same security reasons that we're
That is why we are saying our governments should walk the talk. The rhetoric has been too much. We have to walk the talk. How much does it take even in Accra to make sure that our roads have been constructed? So much money that have been going into corruption. I think we could have saved them to construct roads. I'm telling you, because we have seen it elsewhere. Maybe I'll be mentioning one particular country and you say, why? But if I compare their road systems and that of Accra, I can say that we are lagging behind. We must walk the talk.
Let me ask you, you've spoken about agric, you've mentioned cassava, cocoa, and all of that. You've spoken a bit about industry. If I were to pin you down and ask you which specific sectors, because I don't want to think you are trying to say that we can have a 24-hour economy in the whole of Ghana.
No.
I have not seen any place where I have seen cities You can have a Tokyo, you can have a Sydney, you can have... Recently on the BBC, it's interesting we're having this conversation because they were talking about 2 cities that are doing, in fact, 2 countries that are doing amazing things with the 24-hour economy, just a few days ago on the BBC. But I want to find out, which are the sectors that you feel, if Ghana decided we wanted to go this way, would be the chief ones we should look at? A few of them.
Yes. Now...
You've mentioned agric, so it's fine.
No, yes, I'm not talking about agric. But I will talk of the healthcare system. Healthcare system is even already having the 24-hour economy. I will talk about manufacturing.
Yesterday I was at the UGMC, the University of Ghana Medical Center, throughout the day, in fact, and they have a system that I was so impressed. I've been going there for a few, weeks now.
Yeah, UGMC.
You log in, you log out.
There,
The population of staff is huge, and yes, there are people who have the night. In fact, they have some hostels for some of the staff, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So some truncate. So some are operating this already.
Exactly. Yeah. So the healthcare system is a very good sector. And then we can talk of the tourism sector. The tourism sector can be operated 24/7. Now, unfortunately for us, tourism, yes. Go to Kenya and see how the tourism sector is booming and is contributing so much to GDP. But unfortunately for us, I think we have a problem. Our environment. We have destroyed our environment. We don't have any animals for foreigners to come and see. We are only relying on some few areas, maybe waterfalls, and then maybe also the hotel industry. But tourism is a sector we have to look at. You have people coming into the country day and night, and you have hotels operating day and night. Again, also, another sector I think we have to look at seriously is the fact that the service sector. When I talk of the service sector, the banking facilities. When I talk of the restaurants, the retail shops. In fact, in the night, you can go out to any restaurant around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and these all contribute, the eateries. So these are all sectors that are very, very, very important for us to look at. So this is what, briefly, I will say.
If you had to estimate, and you've mentioned Kenya and all that, what would be your estimation as an academic on what benefits, let's say within a period of 1 to 5 years, Ghana could glean in terms of our GDP growth? And do you think it's something that any administration could stand up and say, okay, today we're implementing it, or must all of these things you're saying, the roads and the security, be put in place? How long will it take before this can be executed?
Great. First, let me cite examples of countries that have increased GDP with regards to the 24-hour economy. I'll talk of the United States of America, but you are right. Let me bring this in. Let me digress a little bit. We don't have 24-hour economy happening everywhere.
Exactly. Yes, I was just about to say, yes. Where in the U.S.?
Especially in the cities, and in the agri sector, you can also have it maybe in the towns and the villages, because it is like congestion. Congestion doesn't occur everywhere. It occurs at specific times. And so in U.S. of A, you have New York, and they say the city that does not sleep. That is how they target. They have their transportation system. So when you are talking about the sectors, transportation system, yes, transportation system 24/7. And people can travel in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. So in US, their contribution of 24-hour economy to GDP is between 7 to 10%.
Now, 7 to 10%
yeah,
of
7
GDP.
to 10% of GDP, yeah.
In the US, you are looking at a GDP of anywhere north of $15 trillion.
Yeah.
So 10 to 15% of that would be what? Let's say...
Which is quite great.
About $2 trillion? That's what you're saying?
Which is quite, yeah. 7 to 10%. Now, when you talk of Germany, Germany is about 4 to 6% in terms of GDP. UK is about 6%. It's usually a range. UK is about 4 to 6% in terms of GDP. Hong Kong is also between 3 to 7% in terms of GDP. So you see, all these countries are contributing to GDP with regards to 24-hour economic concept. And so when it comes to Africa here, because we have not been doing that, we can look at our sectors, we can look at the various sectors in the economy in terms of the primary sector, the secondary sector, the tertiary sector, And you know, the market output from all these sectors, the primary sector, the secondary, the tertiary, will give us the gross domestic
consolidation.
Consolidation of that. The aggregation will give us the GDP. So I believe in Ghana, for now, I don't have a model to be able to estimate it now, because it's something we are going to practice. But definitely, I believe that if we embrace the concept, we can now be able to project an estimate to say that, oh, in terms of GDP, maybe Ghana also can contribute economically by maybe some percentage. Yeah.
You know, talking about this, do you know what it brings to mind? The African Continental Free Trade Area. Because then you ask yourself, if we're going to maximize a 24-hour economy, maybe we should be thinking continentally.
Yeah.
My problem, though, is if you look at even the sub-regional economic bodies, take ECOWAS, for example, which is now hemorrhaging states because Burkina Faso and the rest are also saying, you know what, we are no longer part of this. This creates impediments. But even when they were a part of it, how would you say ECOWAS, for example, had fared as an economic community? You can look at the SADC, the Southern African
SADC,
Development
and
Corporation, and how it has worked. So would we not be overshooting it? Because even the sub-regional bodies have not lived up to expectation. So if you look at the African Continental Free Trade Area, how can it feed into this, especially when the sub-bodies are not even living up to expectation?
Great. Ben, what I would say is that this whole concept of African Continental Free Trade Area after is a great concept, because I should say our first president of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, spoke about this. He was talking about one African market before the European Union. He was talking about one African Union. And then the European Union has not even decided and spoken about it. So it is a great concept that, if it is well implemented, and I believe it is well being implemented at the moment, it is going to connect about 1.3 billion people. It is going to create, in terms of GDP, a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion. So this is a great concept. And some quick facts with regards to the African Continental Free Trade Area is talking about the fact that about 30 million people will now be removed from extreme poverty from Africa.
30 million?
Yeah, 30 million.
In Africa?
Extreme. Qualified extreme poverty.
I'm interested in that because so far the AFTA hasn't even taken off in Africa. We have the Secretariat here.
It has taken off, Ben.
Okay, so let me put it this way.
I can give you examples.
Ghana has not taken off when it comes to the AFTA. We have the Secretariat here, but
Ben, currently
not much is going into.
We have 9 countries that have taken off. Kenya is an example. South Africa is an example. Kenya exported, led by...
Kenya is doing well.
Yeah, 1,000 car batteries. And they have also exported tea bags. It is now up to Ghana also to, do same. You see, so 9 African countries, and I think we have to start from somewhere. So it has taken off. And Ben, what I'm saying is that this 24-hour economy, if we are producing in large quantities, in mass production, then we can now be able to export to our African countries. Let me give you an information, a statistic that came from UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, their Economic Development Report 2018-2019. The report says that intra-African trade, averagely only 16% goes on. Trading among ourselves. But interestingly, look at trading with Europe, about 66%, Asia, about 50-something%, even Oceania, about 9%. You see, so why are we not trading among ourselves? Why are we giving the market somewhere?
And the AFTA is the solution.
And the AFTA is the solution. We have to trade among ourselves. That will create jobs. That will bring industrialization. More people will get opportunity.
How does the 24-hour economy feed into this?
Ben, I have said it and said it and said it. You are operating under extended hours. Operating under extended hours, and you have flexibility of working hours. So with the extended hours, you are going to increase productivity with the extended hours, and that will result into mass production. Now, when we have produced in large quantities, we now have the opportunity to export to our African countries. And definitely because of the guided trade measures, it will create a seamless, trade.
We'll be right back. We have to take a short breather. We'll be back into the studio to continue this conversation on the 24-hour economy with Professor Jonathan Annan. Do stay. We'll be right back. Right, so we're back in the studio with Professor Jonathan Annan. We had to take that little break. He's Associate Professor, School of Business in Nairobi, Kenya. He's sharing his thoughts with us on the 24-hour economy, and we wove in the bit about the African Continental Free Trade area. So you're saying that after coupled with a 24-hour economy would actually lead to job creation, better the standard of living. You were talking a short while ago about 30 million or so Africans that could be drawn out of extreme poverty.
And also, Ben, by 2025, some of the quick facts about after is that we a combined GDP of about 450 billion. Yeah, so this is great. This is very, very, very good.
What do you think could frustrate this initiative? What do you think could be the challenges as far as the AfTA is concerned, and even harnessing the 24-hour economy as you speak of?
Great. Now, this is coming from the regional trade agreements going on. For example, let's look at ECOWAS. Let's look at SADC, EAC. Now, they have their own frameworks, you see. And now doing away with that and going by the guidelines and the framework of AfTA has been a challenge. Especially some of the non-tariff barriers, which needs to be eliminated so that we have seamless, movement from one country to another, has been a challenge. But I believe that it now lies on the government, the various governments. They should come in, the willpower to ensure that some of these unnecessary and non-tariff barriers, which should not be there, should be eliminated so that it will create the opportunity for seamless, movement of goods and services across the whole of Africa. That, I believe, is the main challenge. The willpower of governments, ensuring that the tenets, as it is in AfTA, regulatory framework should be heeded to.
If, from where you sit, you seem to be passionate about this. If I asked you that, if you were given some, let's say, consultancy, put forward a plan for integrating a 24-hour economic system with the African Continental Free Trade Area, what would you put in there? What would you forecast? What would you think of?
The first thing I would do, as a consultant in this area, the challenges. Once the challenges have been identified, and one of them is the fact that individual regional bodies are doing their own thing instead of now abiding by the tenets, the guided trade agreements by AfTA, they are not doing that. So what can we do? We just go to government, prepare a document, inform government that this must be done, otherwise there is no forward movement in this area. And so that willpower, we would give a document telling the governments the advantages that we need to have once we ensure that we follow the tenets by AfTA. So that is one. Then again, another thing that I think will be very good is that we need to ensure that in each country, how are we industrializing the SMEs? That is also a great canker.
Small and medium-scale enterprises.
Yes, the small and medium-sized enterprises. They play a great role in every economy. They constitute about 70%. And we are not helping them in terms of finance. We are not supporting them, giving them training, industrializing. So there was a research that was undertaken by a group in Kenya, how AfTA will take advantage of the SMEs, because they constitute the majority. Do you see? So if they are not being involved, if we are not telling them the importance of AfTA, if we are not training them, if we are not giving them the support, how can they now industrialize so that they can produce in large quantities and then they can export? And again also, the the economic zones, for example, the free zones. Now, these are special geographical delimited area that governments provide and give incentives to industries, organizations. Sometimes they are giving tax relief, maybe for 10 years, etc. It is important.
Ghana has its own free zone
system. Ghana has
system.
its own free zone system. It is important, again, majority of the SMEs also are given this opportunity. See, more often,
how do you mean? Because I know, for example, there are certain entities that are given these permissions and tax incentives because they export. They are predominantly export-oriented. Of course, they pay their taxes and all of that. But when you start bringing in the SMEs, what is the logic? What is the rationale behind it?
It's to increase the production system, productivity, because if you have so many of them in the free zones, they will also increase productivity. We are talking of the quantity. But more often than not, it's some specific industries. And they look at the bigger ones. Sometimes you find that the multinationals, they find a way to come, leaving out the SMEs. So I think that is a big problem. That is
if you look at some of the countries you've mentioned, even on the continent of Africa, it means other countries have taken off. Ghana has not necessarily taken off yet. How can Ghana position itself as a leader as far as harnessing the AFTA arrangement and, of course, increasing productivity, which will then lead to GDP growth?
Definitely, the headquarters of AFTA is in Ghana.
Yeah, but it's meaningless.
Yes,
I guess we can go back to Nkrumah and say having the headquarters of AFTA in Ghana is meaningless unless it is tied
all the people here,
benefiting from it and integrating it with the rest of Africa.
So for me, that is why I'm saying that tactically, we have to walk the talk. We have to walk the talk. Ben, let me give you a very simple example. Somebody said this. We can even have the concept of medical tourism. What do I mean?
But we are doing a bit of that already.
We are doing a bit of
Kolebu,
that.
though I feel we've not treated Kolebu fairly because Kolebu by now should have been. But you have people from the sub-region coming. The UGMC, where I went yesterday, you have people from different parts of Africa coming there.
So that is the example I'm talking about. Why is it that when anybody is sick, you go to India, just go to India, just go outside? In Africa, we can concentrate in certain specific areas. Somebody told me that when it comes to orthopedic, go to South Africa. Now, when it comes to maybe heart issues, we can say, go to Kenya. Maybe when it comes to other issues, come to Ghana. And you have the hub there, so that people will be moving. We can't have patients traveling to specific countries because of specific conditions.
I know of some people who come to Focus, for example, for spinal issues. I was surprised. Last year when I was in Lagos, this gentleman was telling me that he had actually come here to Focus somewhere in Eastern region
and that is,
for that treatment.
And that is 24/7. You don't go to Focus and maybe at 2 a.m. you need to do some test and produce the results, and they say they are not working. So these are all the steps. And I believe strongly that, Ben, Ghana, we have a lot to offer. Ask me again. I have mentioned we have the cocoa in Ghana, cocoa processing factory. We can easily produce our chocolates and export to every part of Africa. Why are we not doing that? Even though if we are doing, we are not maximizing. Yes, we are not maximizing. We are not optimizing the situation. So I think we should do more than what we are doing at the moment.
In all of this, as we cap off the conversation, what do you think the future holds for Ghana in terms of the 24-hour economy, in terms of the African Continental Free Trade Area? And what are the immediate steps we should start taking, the medium-term steps, and maybe the long-term steps that would lead us to that promised land? Because I keep referencing from time to time, the National Development Planning Commission has a Ghana at 100 document. So by 2057, where will we be? And forecasts. And I always not laugh, but it makes me smile when I look at some points like the bit about, is it the GDP? I don't know whether it's nominal GDP. I have to refresh my memory on that, of about $3 trillion. That is ambitious. We can get there. But it is the road to getting there that is the problem. So for you, what are the steps, immediate steps we should be taking? Medium-term steps, long-term steps. Final words.
Ben, the first step is to accept that this concept of 24-hour economy is doable. You see, you know Ghanaians, sometimes they ridicule it off, they laugh over it. What is 24 hours? Some people even say, in the night that I need to be sleeping, and you say, we are not saying you, this same person, working in the morning, you are the same person who should go and work in the night. It's a shift system. When you work in the morning, another person will come in the afternoon, another person will come in the night. You see, so this concept is doable. I've given you examples of countries and the contribution to GDP. So why is it that it is not doable? It will not be doable in Ghana. My first step is accept it, embrace it. Let us believe, let us accept it. Now, Ben, let me give you a very simple example before I go to the other steps. If you are traveling, I was coming from Winneba the other day, about 4 days ago, and I arrived at Weja around 7. You see all the cars coming in one direction, coming to Accra, the city center. When it is around 5 p.m., 6, all of them going in the other area. It means in the night, there is no activity. A country without 24-hour economy, then, excuse my word, is a dead country. I am passionate about this. It's a dead country. We must embrace it, the concept. Because if you ridicule it off, if you laugh over it, people think that, oh, there is nothing in it. And that is the first step. It is doable. We have given other examples. And I've given you the sectors. I say retail and commerce, tourism, hospitality, transport and logistics, health services, the financial services, technology, energy utilities, security, and law enforcement. They are all in the 24-hour economy. The next
ECG, for example, is, I think it has integrated very well as far as that is concerned, because you can now, because of the app, you can purchase electricity at any point. Though you may not necessarily, I don't know about, I've not tried this, maybe at night or at dawn, calling the call center. No. But I do know that you can purchase credits at any time. So you can say that some sectors of the economy, you mentioned energy, that's what drew my attention to it, have started in some way to execute this already.
Yeah, and that is why I was talking about technology and IT. Again, Ben, we must try to go cashless society.
Cashless?
Cashless. To have seamless payments. Now,
we have mobile money interoperability. You can shoot your mobile money from your mobile money account into your bank account. Yes, in some instances, if it's going to someone else, there are charges and all that.
In terms of percentage, what sector of the economy are using mobile money? I can just compare, pardon me, overuse of Kenya.
Are you going to tell me about M-Pesa and all of this?
Yes, because when I had been in Kenya, scarcely did I even hold cash. Because you can use the M-Pesa everywhere. We have these women who sell tomatoes, we call them mama burgers. One day I was shocked. I was in another town called Eldoret, and I decided to buy oranges from a woman selling oranges. And I went to the woman. And then after telling me the amount, I said, hey, this one, will the woman be using M-Pesa? He said, yes, I'm using M-Pesa. Send it to this number. Now I'm asking you, Ben, when you go to the market, go to Makola market and go to the women who are selling cassava and the rest and see who will accept mobile money if it is not cash.
But some of them do.
Maybe few.
No, to be fair, because there are times I bought things in traffic. And paid, and the person says, you know, in fact, the last time was just, I'm not saying it's as integrated a system as it ought to be. But I'm saying that there is some semblance of it. People are catching on. Because just a few days ago, I was in traffic and I bought something. I wasn't holding cash on me. Or was it that, yes, I wasn't holding cash on me and the light had already signaled. The woman quickly gave me her phone number.
Excellent.
And I sent it, and how much was it? 10 cedis.
Excellent.
And I sent it to her, and she called me and said she had received the money.
Excellent. So what I'm saying is that this is so important that all sectors of the economy should embrace it. It is not only a few sectors. Should embrace it. If you have a cashless economy, it has a seamless payment system. Then again, Ben, I have spoken about the challenges, and I've spoken about infrastructure. Now, the infrastructure strain, if there are no good rules, how can you move from one sector to another? And then security. How can you travel in the night to do business? I'm going to a restaurant with my car and armed robbers attack me. So security is key. Then again, Ben, when I'm talking of transportation, governments should be serious with this idea of 24-hour economy and construct highways. Look at Kumasi to Accra. Ben, give me a minute. Let me talk about this. We don't have ordinary roads like the highways. Initially, when you are creating corridors, corridors are routes. When you are creating corridors, you begin with the roads. But the corridors now graduate from ordinary road corridors to what we call economic corridors. What is an economic corridor? When you are traveling from Kumasi to Accra on the highways, you get to some places, you see the buses, they just park for people to eat and drink. You have a lot of restaurants around, you have businesses around. So 24/7, people can travel in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, and businesses will be going on because the roads have now moved from road corridors to economic corridors. And this will now lead to enhance GDP with regards to the 24-hour economy.
Okay, so interesting points you've made there. Let me just sneak this in as the final bit. Do you think realistically, we can get this started? I mean, you would need about 4 years to really roll out something like this. Don't you think so?
No.
Which is a long time.
No, you don't need 4 years.
You don't need 4 years.
It can be implemented. I have already said.
So
I have already.
You are talking of good roads. You are talking of security. You are talking of all these other measures.
Yes.
What then will be your estimate, if not 4 years? How practically? Within what period?
Just within the first year.
First year.
Yeah, just within the first year.
1 year.
Yes. Let me tell you why. Just within the first year.
You
don't need 4 years. I have already said. 24-hour economy is like congestion. We don't start it everywhere. If you go to my village in Ejumakon Wacheso, there is no 24-hour economy you are going to have at the moment. But in Accra, we can have 24-hour economy. Maybe Tema, we can have 24-hour. So we'll be selective. We can, just as you said, that certain cities. Now, if you go to US, everybody talks of New York. So why can't we select Accra?
Okay, so let's name them. You are thinking where it can be implemented within the first year.
We can have
Accra, Kumasi.
Kumasi, Accra, Takrade. We can start there because we have the infrastructure, we have roads. Even if it is not the best, at least we have them there. We have good electricity, internet facility, all that. And we have the hospitals,
right?
We have the hotels, etc. We can begin from there. Then in the subsequent years, we can go to agro-processing. So that now we can go to the villages and establish, for example, tomato factories, gari factories, where the villagers, also the farmers can now produce the crops, and then the machines can be working in the night. So we must be selective.
Okay.
And select the areas and begin.
Prof, we're grateful for your time. I'm sure this is a conversation that we'll continue to have on different fronts. People have different opinions on this matter, but the one who joined us for this conversation, Professor Jonathan Annan, he is Associate Professor, School of Business at Nairobi, Kenya. But of course, he's a son of the soil.
Yes,
thank you, Prof.
And my university is Strathmore University.
Strathmore University.
Kindly mention that for me.
Well, you've just mentioned it. You've just mentioned
University
it.
Business.
Anyway. Okay. Well, stay with us. There's a lot more coming your way. But hello, Ghana. Hello there. Your favorite radio stations are back on TuneIn. That should get you excited. If you're thinking of connecting to Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, and Inshira FM, all your beloved multimedia group brands are now back on TuneIn. All you have to do is tune in. So wherever you are, we've got you covered. Yes, Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, and Inshira FM are back on TuneIn. So tune in to the best of news, music, sports, and entertainment from Ghana's top stations. Anytime, anywhere, on TuneIn. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store to download TuneIn and listen to Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, or Inshira FM to stay connected and entertained. And speaking of which, we have another beautiful conversation coming your way up next on the AM Show. Do stay.
RMX is a global logistics and transportations company. We are in over 60 countries across the world. And we believe in providing a seamless, carefree movement of goods and services for our customer. We have various services from courier services, which is shipping of small items, both internationally and domestically. We into air freight services, that is the full freight forwarding services, the air freight services, sea freight, land freight transportation. We also handle project cargo from oil, mining, construction, basically anything to do with transportation. We also run a third-party logistics service where we offer warehousing facilities for our customers. So our whole intention is to handle from point A to point B for customers. We also have services for individual customers, which is our shop and ship service. So this basically gives individuals the opportunity to shop from anywhere in the world, and we have them delivered to them here in Ghana. So once you're a shop and ship customer, you have over 47 delivery addresses across the world where you can buy things online and have it sent here. Aramex is also a major supporter of all e-commerce companies. So when it comes to shipping for Amazon items into Ghana, it's done by Aramex, from Shein to Fashion Nova to some heavy brands, e-commerce brands. They're shipping with Aramex into Ghana. We also have the health science where we move in biological samples out of Ghana, from malaria research to DNA samples to medical supplies, basically anything transportation. Aramex does that.
Name a country and Aramex will be more than willing to get your items transported to and from the country.
Aramex always prides itself in finding solutions for customers. So even if there's not a direct service from that country into Ghana, we do what we call the multimodal transportation. So it's either we are shipping from one country by air to another country and then moving it by sea here, or moving it to a country that has, especially if it's an urgent shipment, there are some countries that have regular flights coming into Accra. So however it takes for us to get your items to Ghana for you, we do that.
Aramex offers bespoke logistics solutions for all companies, including micro, small, and medium businesses.
Our warehouse facility, we work with top warehouse management system. So if you're keeping your stock with us, you can order from your reorder level. We can store them in terms of your expiry dates. Basically just managing life for you to make it easy for you. We manage from supermarkets. They have their items in our warehouse. Our warehouse has from dry, which is no temperature. We also have the temperature control warehousing. So we have from +4 up to -18. So any item at all that you need to be stored in a warehouse, Aramex can do that service for you.
Utmost customer satisfaction is a hallmark of Aramex.
In terms of customer service, Aramex prides itself in excellent customer service. Once you open an account with Aramex, we have a whole team that supports your services. So we have 2 customer services that are keeping you updated, that are monitoring your shipments. So if you're a one-man business and you have that extra support from Aramex as well, you're with our technology-driven services as well. You're able to track your shipments. You have an interactive dashboard where you can know where your shipment is, what is happening, when you're expecting it, so that you can plan your operations properly.
Here's why they decided to join the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair.
We believe that for every person that would be there needs Aramex services, from the construction companies to the people that are looking at buying homes or furnishing their homes. They're all looking at competitive pricing and to be able to get the best deal ever. And Aramex can be there to provide competitive shipping services to ensure that the end user gets a competitive bargain as much as possible. So basically, we're there to support everybody from exhibitors to people that are coming in, and also to advise people in terms of their shipping needs, how they can bring things in Ghana without having to, you know, pay an arm and a leg for that, and how to get things in efficiently and faster, and then how to ensure that the running cost is reduced in terms of looking at warehousing facilities when they cannot afford one. They should expect several shipping solutions. They should expect discounts on our shop and ship registration service. It's usually $45, but we're offering 250 Ghana cedis that day. We are also offering, launching our new product, which is the Faganako UK service, that is giving SMEs and individuals the opportunity to ship made in Ghana items. So from all the foods that we eat here, dry foods to clothing to accessories, to the UK at a very affordable price. So they should visit our stand for amazing deals.
Competitive pricing, as well as a wide range of logistics movement and warehousing services offered by Aramex, makes them the best amongst their peers. Now you have no excuse not to visit the Aramex stand at this year's EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. See you there.
You're still watching the AM show, and it's the grand finale of the 2024 Energy Commission Senior High Schools Renewable Energy Challenge. And there's 6 schools that are in this fierce battle for the ultimate prize. We'll tell you about that. We'll tell you how the competition has, you know, fared over the past 4 or 3 months so far, and all the various institutions that are collaborating to bring you this Renewable Energy Challenge are represented in the studio with me. We have Bernice Adjoa-Ishenote. She's an officer from the Renewable Energy Regulation from the Energy Commission. We also have Bernice. We have Abigail Shade Aye. She's a Quality Assurance Officer in charge of competitions at Ghana TVET Service, as well as Araba Botwe. She's Executive Director of Admissions and Financial Aid at Ashesi University, and they're sponsors of the Renewable Energy Challenge. Ladies, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
Right. So, I mean, we've had this conversation before when we started talking about the regional competition to sort of trim the numbers down to see who are the top seeds and who would go home. Give me or paint a picture of how the journey so far has been in terms of this Renewable Energy Challenge.
Okay, so we started the regionals in June. We had 109 schools participating in all the 16 regions. Then we grouped them into 2 zones. We had 16 regional winners. Then we grouped them into 2 zones, the Northern Zone and the Southern Zone. We had both competitions in Kumasi in August. Then we got 3 winners from each zones. So for the Northern Zone, we have Dagbopa Technical Institute from the Northern region.
I thought the name was, it was a name for an interesting school. I couldn't pronounce it. Go ahead.
So Dagbopa from the Northern region.
Yeah.
Then we have St. James Seminary from Bono region. Then we have Ola Girls from the Ahafo region.
Okay.
Then for the Southern Zone, we have Obuasi SHTS from the Ashanti region. Then we have Ahantaman Girls from the Western region. And then we have Pando SHS from the Volta region.
So these are the 6 schools
yes.
who've made it to, is it semi-final or final?
To the finals.
Okay,
They've made it to the finals.
They're the ones we should be watching out for.
Yes,
in terms of the day, the D-Day for the grand finale. Okay. And these are, in fact, Dabukpa is a TVET school. And you were telling me even before we got on air that they're doing very well. They were the winners in their
zone, yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So let me come to you, Abigail. What are some of the key highlights that, or the things that have made you raise an eyebrow or impressed you in terms of the entire duration of this competition when it comes to technical and vocational education?
I think it has given the student the opportunity to put the things they are learning into practical force. It has made them very innovative and creative. It has also fostered them together for teamwork. And a lot of projects have been developed so far. I was amazed when I saw a school coming up with the production of bricks. They use waste plastics with sand to make bricks. And they were telling, yes, and they were telling that very soon waste pure water paper is going to be a commodity, like you have to queue to buy it, because if the project comes out, they will make a lot of money. And it is less expensive when you talk about the cement. You know, recently cement prices has increased and people can't afford to buy and build. So it's a very innovative
which is brilliant, because we're always talking about plastic waste and the harm it's causing the planet. So if we can find a way to turn it into material for production, kudos to these young ones out there. Let me come to you, Araba. You are with Ashesi University. Is it the first time coming on board the Renewable Energy Challenge?
No, this is our third year.
Okay. So what makes you keep coming back?
You know, it's interesting. This is a challenge that is focused on problem solving. And Ashesi, our mission is to train ethical entrepreneurial leaders in Africa who have the courage that it takes to transform the continent. And to see these courageous young people come up with these innovative ideas. Ashesi, usually invest a lot in innovations, and we believe that when giving the right platform, these young people seeing their innovations come to light will set a new bar for themselves. Invariably, whether Africa, Ghana moves forward or not is linked to education. And if we can change the way education is done, we can make it more practical. Let the young ones see that their dreams are feasible and they can contribute even at that young age. Imagine what they can do when they become corporate bosses. So that's what keeps driving us to invest in this, to see more young people come up with innovations that will see the light.
In terms of investment, what sort of support or resources are you giving the students, especially those who have even made it to the grand finale?
So basically, we give some funding to the commission for prizes, but we also bring them to the campus to spend to spend a day with us, see how things go on campus, and that's some motivation for them to strive to get to tertiary education. It's not just giving them prizes, but giving them that experiential learning. They come to campus, sit in class, interact with students who are just like them or used to be like them, and then for them it becomes motivation to continue.
That's beautiful. Abigail, would you say that this competition is sort of putting the spotlight on the significance of TVET education in Ghana?
Yes,
How
please.
so?
It's not, this competition is not theoretical, it's practical. So sometimes you can learn something, but because you don't practice it, you don't know how it will come out. So I think it's very good.
Okay, so let's come back to the Energy Commission, who are the ones spearheading this. What's in it for the winners, or what's the grand prize when they win? What are they competing for?
Okay, so the grand prize is a 5-kilowatt solar system. So our previous two winners, that's for the 2022, that was Peje, and then last year, Sogakope, they got a 5-kilowatt solar system that has been installed for them. They got educational materials, they got cash prizes, they got a total prize package of 205,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And their
to
projects...
the students or to the schools?
Both, a combination. Yeah. So their projects are also being refined by CSIR. The Commission has entered into a memorandum of understanding with CSIR. So the unique projects that emerges from the finals is given to them for further refinement. We are hoping to see the final refined version of the PEGE project this coming finals, which will be on 8th October 2024 at the Accra International Conference
Are you going
Center.
to commercialize it?
Yes. So CSIR is supposed to refine it and then commercialize it. And then the proceeds that comes out, a percentage of it goes to the students, a percentage goes to the school, a
a percentage also goes to CSIR for the continuation of refinement of projects that will come out of this competition. So we are not just telling them to come make a project, come present, win the trophy, and then you just go. No. We are refining the projects that come out and then commercializing it. CSIR also gives internship opportunities to the students of that particular project to intern with them, to work on their projects and other projects as well. So it's not just a one-stop thing. You come to the lab for some practical lessons to refine what you've already started in secondary school.
Let's step away from the competition for a second and let's look at what this competition or this mindset really is doing for Ghana as a whole. How important is this initiative in terms of our development trajectory of the country?
So I think for our development, it's making us know that we can do it ourselves. We don't always have to rely on foreign aid or foreign help to be able to develop something to solve problems that are pertaining to the country. Because we are in this country. We know what the conditions are, what we are facing, how we can be able to solve our problems. The ideas are there. It will amaze you that some of these students that come with these ideas, as you said, Dagbopa, nobody knows Dagbopa. If not for the competition, you would never have heard of Dagbopa. Yeah. Same, the 2021 winner, Jama Pensa, nobody had heard of them. There are really great potentials in our students, and our teachers are helping refine them. So given the opportunity, they'll be able to do better and greater things for the nation.
Abigail, there's a school of thought that Africa is always playing catch-up. So the rest of the world will do something, and then we are struggling to figure out how do we, if not catch up to them, at least cut a little bit of what they've done and use it to do something for ourselves. And then it is, in fact, the fourth industrial revolution. Would you say that the students in this competition, or the students that you have encountered so far, are able to compete on the global stage with the rest of the students, looking at in terms of quality of education, access to resources, and really everything that makes TVET good and great for the country? Would you say they're able to compete on the global stage?
Yes, they will.
Shed more light on that for us.
Looking at the things they produce, it is international based. And when we are able to market it, we'll be able to compete.
Let's make it practical. Maybe one thing that they produce, I know you talked about solar panels some time ago. What is the one thing that someone has produced that for you was quite impressive, that students were able to come up with that, an idea and execute it?
I spoke about the bricks. And I also look at Dapupa, they did a filtration system. So they will filter the contaminated water and you can use it. You can use it for household purposes. Yes.
You know that Ghana Water Company is struggling right now because of the activities of illegal mining and small-scale mining.
Yes.
You're saying these students have created a filtering system that can filter the, minerals, the dirt? Really?
Yes.
Well, they should get in touch with Ghana Water Company Limited because as we speak, our turbidity level is around 14,000 and they're struggling. They need more money to do that. Yeah, okay, so that's impressive. You wanted to add something?
It will surprise you to know that one of our judges for the zonals was from Ghana Water. So we don't just get judges from it. We look at the scope of the competition, and then we look at the projects that have come out of the competition, and then we pick somebody in the relevant institution to come and judge. So Ghana Water is very much aware.
Okay. Let's talk about expectations, and then I'll come back to you for the date, the time, and how we can follow through with this competition. So what are your expectations for this year? I want to come to you because you are a sponsor, so obviously you came in with some expectations. Tell us about it.
I mean, over the past few years that we've been sponsoring them, we see students getting more and more confident and ambitious. Haven't seen the previous years, so we're looking for something different, something unique. We've been with them on the regionals and the zonals.
Right.
My team has traveled with them to see what is happening, and we're really excited. For me, I think the important thing is that each year you're getting a group of students who are more confident because they've seen what was done the previous year. And I think that's a general mindset for students. it's changing the mindset that if somebody did it, we can do better. It's healthy competition that is going to solve problems, not just for Ghana. If these things are done well and CSIR gets it right, imagine what it's going to do for Ghana, exporting the technology.
You sound like you're actually impressed with what the students are doing, and I like that.
I am very impressed, and I really look forward to this year as something better than last year's.
Okay. Abigail, what about you? And what would be your message to those watching so that they can make a date to watch and see the amazing things that these students are creating?
I want to say that the products are very innovative, and that if Ghana will buy into it, we'll go far. Because we normally depend on foreign countries for certain things, but we can make it. Looking at the technical vocational aspects, we can make it if governments will also support the training of such courses in our institution. We can
even
go
the
far.
training of trainers.
Yes,
you know?
yes, we can go far because the students we have in our institutions are very good. Given the needed support, we can go far in this country. I want to encourage everybody to book the dates. The date is 8th October, and the venue is Accra International Conference Center. Make a date and come and have a look at it. And I believe you'll be amazed about the innovative and creative ideas these our little ones have. And I bet you Ghana can go far.
Ghana can go far. I was going to come to you for details, but Abigail has already given us, so we can reiterate the finals, the students in the final, the grand finale, and the time and all that, so that our audience don't miss it.
Okay, so we have Dabopa, your favorite school.
My favorite school, Dabopa.
Dabopa Technical Institute. We have St. James Seminary, Ola Girls, SHS. Then we have Obuasi SHTS, Ahantaman Girls, and then Pando SHS.
Okay.
So it's on 8th October 2024 at the Accra International Conference Center at 9 a.m.
And it's also live
on Joy News. Yes.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I wish you the very best come the 8th of October 2024. And may the best school win, but I'm rooting for Dabopa. Okay, thank you so much. We had Bernice Ajoy Shenote. She's an officer with Renewable Energy Regulation at the Energy Commission. We also had Araba Butche, Executive Director of Admissions and Financial Aid at Ashesi University, and she's a sponsor. And we also have Abigail Shadia, Quality Assurance Officer in charge of competitions at Ghana TVET Service. Ladies, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's how we're wrapping up the show. Remember, it's the grand finale of the 2024 Energy Commission Senior High School Renewable Challenge. And they said that Ghana can do it too, because, I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. We just have to figure out a way to do it. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akako. It's a Friday, so that's our show for the week. But coming up next is Joy News Desk with Faustina Safo. Enjoy the rest of your day.